The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hooray for Hollywood, where stars are living large, in mansions with their servants and their credit cards in charge, with fame that's fleeting, but the egos never change, where everyone's a genius, except the ones who really arrange. Hooray for Hollywood, where the scandals always sell, where every whispered secret is a new tabloid's tell. Oh, how we adore the endless red carpet galore. Hooray for Hollywood, where less is always more. If I saw this movie on a plane, I would still walk out. This trailer makes me want to sit on the TV and look at my couch. I paid nothing to watch this trailer, but I already want my money back. Coming to a theater near you, me, is that a threat? They should have made Rachel CGI instead. Mark Brown and the 7 Discord mods. The CGI looks much better when I turn my monitor off. Disney invites you and I must politely decline. I'm looking for the poison apple. Why is Lord Farquaad playing Snow White? This movie should come with a disclaimer. No dwarfs were harmed, but your childhood might be. I haven't seen something self-implode this hard since that Titan submarine. Mirror, mirror on the wall, as a German I claim cultural appropriation. Mirror, mirror on the wall, Snow White and the 7 CGI abomination. Making the dwarfs look like a PS1 hack reap was a bold choice. Rachel Zegler looks like a medieval squire boy. Marvel's lost $237 million. Snow White, hold my beer. Disney used to make people famous, now it ends acting careers. Mirror, mirror on the wall, where the seats are empty in cinema hall. Mirror, mirror on the wall, what's the biggest Disney flop of all?
Yes now. Well, I see someone is a hostage.
I'm here voluntarily.
You certainly are, Ollie.
Yeah. Okay, so just so everyone understands, this is clearly not a real gun. On the off chance the algorithm or whatnot decides, see the big thing here, this is completely empty. And it's not a real gun. I would never do something that deeply irresponsible for the sake of a joke. Now, would I?
Speaking of irresponsible, welcome to Damn You Hollywood.
Speaking of irresponsible, how we doing, everybody?
Wonderful. Sorry, I feel like I need to get into the spirit of things here.
Oh, God.
Okay. Well, we're talking Snow White and our wills to live slowly disintegrating.
I'm watching basketball and hockey at the same time.
Is this the only way you're keeping yourself alive right now?
Yes. All right. Snow White.
Where do we begin?
Could be a 2025 American musical fantasy film directed by Marc Webb, director of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and written by Erin Cressida Wilson, produced by Walt Disney Pictures and Mark Platt Productions. It's a live-action reimagining of Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which itself is based on the 1812 fairy tale Snow White by the Brothers Grimm. It stars Hollywood's current boogeyman, Rachel Zegler.
We can just call her Hollywood's medieval squire boy, and I think we can all live with that.
I'm calling her Nicole Kidman's a protege for how to become Hollywood poison.
With Andrew Burnap playing pig hostage.
Wait, when did that happen to Nicole Kidman?
You've never heard the people talk about Nicole Kidman being box office poison? You've seriously never heard that?
No, that's not one I've heard before.
Margot Robbie, on the other hand.
Yeah, that one we know.
and Gal Gadot as your local neighborhood dominatrix. It follows the pure-hearted Snow White who joins forces with the Seven Dwarfs and a bandit named Jonathan to free her kingdom from her cruel stepmother. A couple of things just right off the bat. I said to Robert when I got out of the theater, I said, this answers the question, what if a progressive liberal activist asked ChatGPT to take the Walt Disney animated classic Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and turn it into communist propaganda? You would have this movie.
Pretty close.
Or you would have, you'd have 1/3 of this movie. The other 2/3 are something else entirely, and we'll get to that.
The other 2/3 are desperately trying to patch up our mistake by throwing more and more money at the problem.
Robert, can I tell you what I'm really most aggravated about? Because I am not a girl, nor am I an adolescent boy in a man's body. I am not angry with Disney for destroying Marvel and Star Wars. I don't have a vendetta against this company and, a urge to see everything they produce fail. I feel bad that they let this one get away from them as badly as they did, and then in trying to correct it made it worse. But let me tell you how I've been spending way too much time watching other people's internet commentary, specifically about this movie, but in general. And had Disney not done what they've done over the last 5 years to Marvel and Star Wars, you would not see this many middle-aged men making endless amounts of videos decrying this movie. No one gives a fucking shit about Star Wars except for the occasional child, mostly female. But yet,
I assume you mean Snow White, not Star Wars.
No. That's what I'm saying. Like, these guys are so mad about what's happened to their favorite things that now they just kind of look at Disney and it's a lynch mob to see something fail. And when 90% of the content that they're producing is Disney's making bad decisions. I mean, granted, Disney's not helping themselves, but
the opposite in point of fact.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not saying the videos they're making are altogether wrong. I'm saying the fact that this many videos got made about Snow White by this group of people who wouldn't give a shit about Snow White otherwise is what really annoys me, because it's so intellectually dishonest.
Okay, let me back up just a hair on you here for a second, and let me defend a little bit of what's going on there.
Be my guest. I mean, I'm not wrong, but you can.
No. You're not entirely.
You can pick at some of the items. Be my guest.
Hang on. You're not entirely wrong, but there's a market incentive that is really more what's driving this than a personal vendetta. Yeah, I'm sure a bunch of these people are pissed at Disney for, ruining Star Wars, which, let's be clear, they did.
No. Again, no disagreement.
Hang on. They don't like the direction Marvel took. Whether or not it's been ruined is individual. Like, Star Wars is objectively ruined.
Yeah.
I mean, by any objective metric.
Correct.
Marvel downturn, but ruined remains to be seen, believe it or not. Much as we've been negative on almost everything they've done, I am giving that caveat because it's honest. What happened was they started talking about that publicly because a lot of people felt the same way they did.
Sure.
Then, because this is the internet and this is what the YouTube marketplace, the YouTube economy will do, you have to keep doing that in order to sustain viewers.
Yep.
So now, whether they actually care about Snow White or not, it drives traffic. Therefore, you must.
Yes. But that is
hang on.
Living in the land of obscurity with our views, I'm allowed to say, I see you people, you're full of crap.
Sure, but at the same time, again, like, there's the market driving forces here need to be acknowledged, not just this is Schadenfreude for Disney.
Get that. I'm not really, I mean, the thing of it is you're making an argument that I wholeheartedly agree with. the fact that I'm aware that they're doing it because they need, this is what drives traffic. This is what's hot. It's again, it's capitalism. I get it, and I don't necessarily decry that part of it. But they are such good actors. Because if you watch these videos and you listen to their commentary, you would think that for these middle-aged men who look like me, if not a little bit younger in some cases, that Snow White was the most important thing to them ever, and they are mad as hell that Rachel Zegler did, and this group of producers did what they did to it. And it's like, you're full of crap. And that's what makes it so hard to watch some of these. It's just like, you've got. I could live with it if it was just let's just laugh at Disney make one error after another. The vitriol and the tone is more. Some of them they're laughing at Disney, and I'm right there with you. A lot of them are like, "Oh my God, how could you do this to this beloved classic that I adore so much?" It's like, all right,
in fairness,
protest too much.
Hang on. In fairness, Alexis will be taking that position in about 20 minutes.
But
I actually feel
I'm okay with Alexis doing it.
Let me put it this way. You know that iconic statue at Disney World of Walt holding Mickey's hand?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go and kneel in front of that and pray for Walt's forgiveness for this movie.
Well, all right. Let's. I've said my piece, so I'm good. You guys can have the rest of the review. I'm going to watch basketball. I'm just kidding.
You're not getting out of this that easily.
So Alexis was kind enough to. Speaking of people on the internet that I hate, I'm now about to do my imitation of them. Alexis sent us an article, and I figured, rather than just have a loosey-goosey, the way we like to do, conversation about everything that led up to this point and all the stupid controversies, Alexis was kind enough to send us an article from Slate.
God, that hurts my eyes. I saw this movie today, and I still don't think my retinas have recovered from how bad it looks.
I saw this movie today, too, and I walked out thinking, dear God, I need a drink.
So I figured let's read through this. And let me tell you, my friends, my beautiful, beautiful friends, Robert Esquire Winfrey and Alexis Aloysius Hana.
It's Meredith.
I'm sure it is.
It's like, I'm sorry, but if you're going to invoke my full name, you should at least know what my actual middle name is.
His middle name wasn't Never mind. Ugh.
He's trying to put titles in places they shouldn't go. Esquire is what you call a lawyer, and it goes at the very end of a name. So
I know what Esquire is.
I'd rather be anywhere else right now. Speaking of which,
the Swinger House beckons.
You have no idea. As aggravated as I get with both of you being unable to manage your attention deficit disorder and interrupting the podcast constantly to the point where I can't get anywhere, for once, I'm going to read something to you, and I invite all of the squirrelness to come out. Please interrupt away as I read through this. So here we go. The many, many controversies leading up to Disney's live-action Snow White explained.
So what's the over-under on them just blaming men? How many times is that going to be a thing?
So let's skip down here to, has this movie always been mired in controversy? Pretty much. Peter Dinklage was one of its first detractors. The beloved actor, who has a common form of dwarfism, has had some choice comments about Disney's decision to adapt Snow White. In January of 2022, when appearing on the comedian Marc Maron's podcast, WTF, to promote the film Cyrano, which nobody saw.
I wanted to see that, actually. I thought it looked interesting.
You'd have been the only one. Dinklage accused Disney of hypocrisy when the topic of Snow White adaptation came up, expressing bafflement that the company was proud to announce they had cast a Latina actress as Snow White, but are still making that fucking backward story about 7 dwarves living in a cave together. I'd like to stop there, interrupt myself, and say they don't live in a cave. They lived in a cottage.
One, yes, they live in a cottage. Two,
they work in a cave.
It's a fantasy land. There's dwarves, dickhead.
I was going to say that. See that's actually something that another dwarf comedian pointed out. He talked about how he always uses the term midget because he said when you hear the word dwarf, you go hi ho, and it just no, seriously, he actually used that in his stand-up, and he's
I think
not
I've
wrong.
seen that clip.
Was that Hornswoggle that did that, or was it another dwarf?
No. There's a comedian. His name's Brad something or other. I think.
Oh yeah, him. Okay.
Yeah, no, he's great, but
the one who has the bit about how dare you use my urinal? You know which one it is, you full-size jackass.
the one who basically got mad at a dad who brought his son over, claiming that he was one of Santa's elves. So he basically said, "Okay, fine. What do you want for Christmas? Whatever you want. Santa will bring it to you, right?"
Yeah.
He's awesome. But no, he pointed out that the use of the phrase dwarf. We got confirmation. Brad Williams, thanks, Zach. Yeah, I've heard he is very nice. But he talks about how he doesn't like hearing the use of the word dwarf because it is mired in fantasy elements and Snow White and stuff like that. So even though that is the PC term, it just doesn't feel right.
Well, look, man, some of them went to dwarfism. Some of them still prefer midget. There's a few that just say, no, we're little people. Like, look, I don't care what you land on. Seriously, pick something. But call the quorum together and let's figure this out. But can we just finalize this?
Here's the real problem with Peter Dinklage's comments and Disney's response.
Oh, it got a bunch of. It meant they couldn't actually hire midget actors. Never mind, this is one of the few things with seven good roles for working actors.
That's not the biggest problem. That's unfortunate.
Would they rather have done what they did with that horrible Kristen Stewart movie where they hired regular size actors and used forced perspective to go Hobbit on them? I think that's more insulting.
Well, it wasn't just forced perspective. They did a lot of CGIing to make them smaller too. And that movie pissed off the entire midget / dwarf community.
Here's the real problem is, one, if you look at what he really said there, it was like, it's great that they hired a Latino Snow White. So in the first part of the sentence, he's like, oh, this is great for inclusion is a wonderful thing, and I'm very happy for this. And in the second part, but you're still making Snow White, which I don't like because I think it makes little people look bad. It's never enough. This is the problem. This is why you don't negotiate with terrorists. True. This is why you don't give in to the mob mentality that demands inclusion above all else. I'm a fan of inclusion. I think inclusion is great. I think people should see themselves in various elements of media where capitalism supports it. That's the key.
I would say a lot of dwarf actors openly came out and said, "Please ignore what Peter Dinklage is saying. We need work." Look, there's already so few roles. It's a very limited market for people in
the reason why position. Black people got where they got in entertainment and sports is because white people wanted to see them. Not because of a ratio, not because of a quota. It was people wanted to see Jackie Robinson because he was a superior athlete. This goes on and on. The amount of African American people that took over basketball, that made the Lakers what they were once upon a time.
It's funny what happens when the more you remove barriers and let things be a pure meritocracy. You actually do get the diversity that so many people insist on trying to get with quotas, altered standards, and pandering.
The grandfather of modern black comedy, the great-great-great-grandfather, Red Fox, was Red Fox all the way through. And people, despite being a black guy, wanted to see him perform. And he gave birth to Richard Pryor, who shared the stage with Bill Cosby, who both gave birth to Eddie Murphy, and it goes on and on and on and on.
And then we get to where we are now when everything's worse. Look, man, black comedy kind of died with Patrice O'Neal.
Anyway, my point
now we got Kevin Hart.
My point is Peter Dinklage, my point that I'm trying to get to is it's never going to be enough for the people who this is all they think about. It's never going to be enough for the people who they don't look at what the market supports. They only look at inclusion to the exclusion of all else. And there's never making any of these people happy. So Disney went out of their way to get rid of the dwarf characters and then replace them with, which we'll talk about in a little bit, the bandits, only for then people to see that and go, well, that's not really the story now, is it? This isn't Snow White and the Bandits. It's Snow White and the Seven fucking Dwarfs. And then Disney went, fuck. Like, now what are we supposed to do? And as you just said, Peter Dinklage is entitled to his opinion, but we don't work for Peter Dinklage and moved on from this and been adults about it. None of this would have ever happened. But instead, you negotiated with a terrorist. You negotiate with a terrorist. I'm talking about this one isolated thing.
No. I was just going to say, like, that one item, you would have avoided that landmine. And you know what? Given how many you hit with your ragdoll physics, bouncing from one to the other, Avoiding at least one would have helped a lot.
It was like the Daffy Duck-esque Robin Hood method of making a film. Yoinks and away, Peter Dinklage. Yoinks and away, Rachel Zegler. Yoinks and away, the Israeli-Palestinian crisis. Yoinks and away.
Yeah.
I was say doesn't even make sense because Grumpy is actually voiced by Martin Kleba, a famous dwarf midget actor. You guys probably would recognize him from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise.
I'll skip
Probably.
down. The last time we spoke, you told me that Rachel Zegler had upset a lot of people on TikTok in relation to Snow White, but I don't remember why. Could you rehash the whole saga? Oy. Yeah, Zegler didn't actually do anything untoward. The
Okay,
fact is,
once again, now the author is Rachel Zegler didn't do anything wrong by saying that the original is ugly, dated, and hurtful to the women's movement. And you know what? Really, we could just remove the male co-star from this in editing and nothing of value will be lost. No, she clearly didn't do anything wrong with any of that, right?
okay, may I, as Rachel Zegler's lawyer, speak up for her for just one moment?
I mean, you can try, but that's a losing case, buddy.
As Rachel Zegler's lawyer, she was in friendly territory speaking to a reporter, and she was trying to be kind of affable and cute and funny. And the bit about the guy, she was being sarcastic. She wasn't being serious.
Oh, yeah. Look, here's the problem, okay?
I mean, let's not take it. Like, she wasn't reading from Mein fucking Kampf. All the woman said was, like, hey, we're doing a bit of a different thing here. We're doing a feminist take on Snow White. We may not even need the guy. You know what I mean? Look, if it's one of us saying it because we're not stars and we have, a fraction of the audience, no one gives a fuck. But it's a celebrity who said it who already had people against her. By the time that she makes those comments at D23 about we're doing a different take on this and the original is dated and we might cut the guy's part,
I couldn't even watch the original. It just scared me as a child. Like, okay, one, you're too sheltered, but
by that point, the wolves were already out for blood. People were all. First of all, this thing is coming on the heels of The Little Mermaid, with the lead black actress and the Caribbean aesthetic, which had already annoyed the piss out of people. This was already coming on the heels of everything I said about Star Wars and Marvel. So at this point, this could have been the best Snow White ever, the most accurate representation of the film. And I don't think anyone would. I still think you would have had people looking for reasons to attack this movie and everyone in it.
The problem is, like, I've said this before, when everything you do just makes the malcontents look like they're right, you're not helping anything.
No, and here's the thing, Robert. My contention is that even if they did everything right, people were going to look for things wrong with it. It just wouldn't have worked as well. The fact that this group of idiots lean into every mistake they could make is the problem here.
Here's my contention.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody out there wants to be an actor. Delete your Twitter right now. If you want to start a new one, start a new one. Tweet very, 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 very infrequently.
Yeah.
And learn what it means to be the kind of person who has to carry the weight of a movie on your shoulders in public and in the press. This is lost, okay? Well, this is a lost art in Hollywood these days. You've got like 4 people who know what they're doing with it. None of them work for Disney.
Not entirely motivated to tear Rachel Zegler to pieces have been saying she lacked media training. And again, she's at a Disney convention. This is well before the movie was coming out, and she's having fun with the reporter, trying to be what's the word?
Adorkable,
charismatic.
Well, she's not that.
Here's the thing: in the parallel universe where Marvel is succeeding and Star Wars is succeeding, and these people aren't angry, nobody cares about that interview. Not a single person. No one gets bent out of shape about it. People took that ball and ran with it because they were already mad about stuff. But like I said, you take away that, and she's talking, first of all, people went digging for it. Because if you look at like when that started making the rounds, it was well after it was said. That was said at D23, what?
2022.
Yeah, 2022. It started making the it started making the rounds in 2023 because people looked for it.
Well, okay, again, like stop making it. Yeah, people had to look, but you didn't have to look hard. Like,
Look,
we're not talking about sleuthing here.
Yeah, look, again, could that have been worded better? Sure. Is it as bad as it's been made out to be? No.
No, not
fair.
really, but like it feels like she saw Brie Larson do the I don't know, does anybody want me to be Captain Marvel anymore? And went like, okay, how about I do something in that vein, but worse.
I would buy that argument if she knew who Brie Larson was.
She saw the soundbite, didn't know who it was, but thought it sounded funny.
All right, so let's move down here. All right, so what else happened since then? An additional political wrinkle has developed. This is my favorite one, by the way. Gadot, it was Israeli and has served in the Israeli Defense Forces.
Okay, stop 1 second.
Isn't that compulsory service,
yes.
by the way? Okay,
yeah.
good.
For the record,
I said that.
Just for every idiot out there who goes, oh, you're Israeli, you were in the IDF, therefore you're a terrorist, you're a moral reprobate, you're no different than the people running the camps at Auschwitz. Like, every military service in Israel is compulsive for literally everyone. Man, woman, whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody cares what you identify as. You serve in the IDF. Mandatory military service.
Right. That doesn't mean you see
throwing
combat or
that
anything. That there's plenty of people who serve in the IDF that do like social service work, that do administrative work. It's a government service.
So throwing that as equivalent to a lot of other things, and don't get me wrong, if you want to quibble, if you wish to object to elements of how Israel governs itself and some of their tactics, standing, that is a whole very complicated, very, very messy can of worms. Not trying to say how you have to feel about that. I'm saying pretending that every person who served on the IDF is some moral reprobate, some monster who's like thrown babies off of cliffs.
Pretending that anyone from Israel, you know, is
again, you have to.
My husband's best friend is an immigrant from Israel. He just took his wife and their 3 kids back this last summer to meet his family. I
love the fact that because they cast Gal Gadot, who was also Wonder Woman, who's also been in the Fast and the Furious movies, who was in a terrible Netflix movie, was also in Red Notice, but I repeat myself. But now, because she's cast as Snow White, and this is Disney, and people are paying attention, and protesting too much. Now this is Disney siding with the Israelis because they cast Gal Gadot, not because she looks good in the costume.
Honestly, she was probably the only truly good thing about this movie. She understood the assignment and she went with it.
You and I are going to disagree about that, but we'll save it for that. We'll save it for later.
This is yet another example of you take a part and it ruins your fucking career because it what do you call it? It shows people who there's another word I'm looking for here. It exposes you for what you really are, and what she really is a terrible actress. But I digress. All right, so
point being, you have Gal Gadot, who's Israeli, was in the IDF, and has generally been pro-Israel. And Rachel Zegler,
as most Israelis would be, not all, but most.
For the record, Robert, it's Gadot. It's that she's. She's made it clear the T is not silent.
Meanwhile, Zegler has been openly.
Rachel Zegler has done what every 20-year-old has done and said, free Palestine. Okay, how? I don't know, free Palestine. Well, do you understand what that means? No, but we're pro-Hamas. Do you know what that group calls for? Like, you can object to the implementation of what's going on in that part of the world, 1,000,000%. It's a mess. There's a reason we are where we are. But saying everyone and their dog doing Elon Musk made a Nazi salute and then ignoring that Hamas actively flies the swastika. Sorry, you're hypocrites.
So my daughter said something to me on the way home from school once when I went to go pick her up, and I
not a Musk fan, by the way. Just saying the duality.
And I said, who cares? And I said to Lily, I said, please don't be one of the free Palestine people. And because she's not an international studies major, it was like she's an 8th grade girl. What? I don't understand. And I had to kind of explain to her in 50 words or less the Israeli-Palestinian thing.
Admittedly, do 8th graders even know where Palestine is on a map?
Nobody knows where Palestine is. It's next to fucking Oz, just short of fucking Rivendell. Jesus Christ.
Sorry, just your little explosion there. That was adorable.
Anyway, So she was just like, but why shouldn't Palestine be free? And then I had to like throw books at her and be like, here, there's a whole thing. It's a lot
Okay,
more
so it
complicated
starts with
than-
the Bible, and in the beginning,
Oh dear God.
Anyway, it's a lot more complicated than the average idiot yelling "Free Palestine" from the rooftops, as you put it, makes it out to be. In any case, so you have this uneducated idiot yelling "Free Palestine," and then you have this Israeli going, "Maybe don't push us to the sea," as you keep suggesting we should do from all these terrorist groups.
Well,
and
And-
maybe don't
she's-
genocide the Jews.
She's standing up for her home country. I mean, wouldn't we all do that for the most part?
In any case, apparently they
We
were bumping
did.
heads. Zegler and Gadot have been bumping heads about that, which is hilarious to me.
And then there's, of course, Rachel Zegler telling half the country that don't come see my movie.
Oh, yeah. I read that part. Additionally, at least as far as domestic politics are concerned, Zegler has landed in hot water with Donald Trump supporters. The people who voted for our current president by a large margin.
Yeah.
After,
Look, you don't have to like Trump, but let's not pretend that he didn't win the popular vote as well as the
again,
electoral
this was
college.
one of the downsides of waiting 2 years to release this, is they thought they were in safe, just like they did with Brave New World. Like the parallels to these two movies are amazing. But they thought they'd be in safe territory. We thought we'd be living in Kamala Harris land. And as it turns out, people in California still don't understand this country, lo these many years after Ronald Reagan was duly elected president. We don't learn from history. Anywho, landed in hot water with Donald Trump supporters after posting an impassioned anti-Trump message to her Instagram stories following the 2024 election. In it, Zegler finished her lambast of Trump with, "May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace." She was later forced to apologize at gunpoint.
Much like I was forced to be here if you saw our opening bit.
Usually, drama between actors feels engineered in order to promote the movie, but this definitely feels different. How has Disney reacted to this growing controversy in the promotional run for the movie? Disney said hi-ho and practically took a sledgehammer. Oh, yeah. We haven't really talked about this.
Okay, hang on. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago when they canceled the European premiere red carpet event.
Right.
The next week, and this happened like after our show, so we didn't get to talk about it.
Mhm.
They canceled the New York and the Los Angeles premieres. There was no red carpet event.
They limited this to small screenings of only influencers, and Rachel Zegler did not talk to the press. She got to sing a song. That's it.
Yeah, they realized that Rachel Zegler has the charm of your average braying jackass down the street.
It's become clear that Hollywood not Hollywood, but audiences just don't like her. They don't want to see her. She was, everyone liked her in West Side Story, but that was an ensemble cast.
Also, that didn't do well, if you'll remember, Alexis.
No, it did not.
Yeah. Well, I think there was also, there was also backlash on her because she didn't get invited to the Oscars that year. And she actually was publicly like, hey, I didn't get invited. And they issued a last minute invitation for her and she showed up. So I think that also kind of fed into it.
She's been a self-righteous, self-entitled
I would like to raise an
character for a
objection
while.
as Rachel Zegler's lawyer. Because the common refrain from all the internet heads is everything she does bombs. Yes, West Side Story did not do well. Not entirely her fault. Let's get a grip.
The Hunger Games prequel.
You know what did do well though? The last Hunger Games movie. I can pull it up if you want to, but I know our review did well. But if I remember correctly, it did financially well too. Yeah,
it wasn't it was not anywhere near a giant success, but it was not a money loser.
Yeah, I want to bring it up really quick. But she was in that prominently.
Well, she was prominently in the trailer. In the movie itself, this is one of our gripes.
I remember I wanted to ask you guys about that because somebody said that the trailer really overhyped how much she was in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
We did complain about that. All right, so it had a $100 million budget and it made $349 million. Again, not a bomb.
Again, not a giant winner, but not a bomb.
So, the last thing, the thing before Snow White, Y2K, that bombed, but it was an A24 horror movie that was out in the middle of Sonic, Wicked, Mufasa, a complete unknown, half the Oscar pictures. Like, it just got buried. Like, that, again, not entirely on Rachel Zegler either. So, this narrative that's out there because everyone hates her because of what we did to Marvel and Star Wars, is everything Rachel is box office poison. No, I would like to remind the court who box office poison is. Her name is Margot Robbie.
Generally true.
Everything she touches turns to fucking ash, and we documented it with what you call numbers.
We
Put
did.
it on TikTok and everything. God damn it.
Yeah. Okay, so hang on. Counterpoint to your objection. Rachel Zegler may not be box office poison, but she is not a draw, she is not a star, and she is not an asset to any production she's been a part of.
I would like to raise another objection. Nobody is.
Yeah.
Oh, Robert. So
hang on.
I need to pull up the tape of the last 5 years of us saying no, but there are no stars left in Hollywood.
No. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying that's a way too broad assessment to be like, oh, well, that's a little bit like saying, ow, my face hurts. And the response being, objection. Everyone with a broken jaw has their face hurt. Like,
I will acknowledge the point that if, let's say, there could be Hollywood stars in the year of our Lord 2025, she wouldn't be one.
Okay. Maybe a better way to phrase that, since you're right, there are no stars. There are actors with goodwill, though.
Sure.
And she has none.
That would be correct. I don't know how much, and Alexis was starting to say something about this. I don't know how much goodwill she had before 2022, but she certainly has none now. And she's going to have to go through the Brie Larson witness protection program / rehab program to make it, to get gigs in Hollywood again.
Pretty much the only asset she has is she is a phenomenal singer. I will give credit. I didn't like the songs in this movie, but she sang them well.
Yeah.
I mean, she sang the songs in West Side Story well. I don't know how her singing was in the Hunger Games prequel because I didn't see it, but I heard she sang well.
This girl
in that.
Can sing. There's no one's doubting that. In fact, even the people who hate her, hate this movie, and hate everything coming out of Disney because of their precious things we're muddled with, have all said she's the best part about this movie, which I disagree with, by the way.
No,
as her lawyer, I don't think she's good in this, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Here's part of the problem with some of these live action movies, and we'll talk about this when we get to it more specifically. Rachel Zegler can sing. Her acting is very, very dubious.
Yeah.
Disney at this point is hiring people that can sing and hoping that no one cares that they can't act, and it's backfiring big time.
All right. Well, that is our discussion of the great controversies that have plagued history's great art piece. The touchstone of culture.
Okay, hang on. Before you get too deep into that, let's do at least two things here that are important to mention.
What? What do you want?
The original Snow White is, in fact, an important cultural touchstone and piece of cinema history.
Yes, which I wasn't
and music
about.
history, too.
Yeah.
I was talking about this movie, not the 1937
classic. Oh, okay. You were being sarcastic about this
Disney.
one.
Yes.
Well, I thought you were about to do your... So now let's talk about how this movie, that how dare they, and then you're being moderately sarcastic about everyone's reaction to what they've done to the original.
No, I've made my point. These guys are halfway full of shit and halfway intellectually immature. And as somebody who can rub two brain cells together and formulate an educated thought, it bothers me, and I'm entitled to be bothered. Having said that, speaking of bothering me, let's hear from Robert's plot synopsis, but first, a word from our sponsor.
Verse 2.
Okay, Disney, you can just cancel the film. We won't be mad if you admit to be. Even Mark the Builder can fix this. Disney achieved the closest thing to One Piece by releasing something we all collectively hate. I mean, why is there an earthquake here? It's all Disney rolling in his grave. Nobody has ever rooted for a poison apple until this movie. Go, apple, go! Actors like Ophism, hi-ho, it's off to work, we know. Maybe we know nobody's going to pirate. Did I frighten you? No Snow White and her 7 CGI did. Disney's next step is gonna be making Rapunzel fall. You hear Walt Disney's frozen head screaming in the Disney Ball. Mirror, mirror on the wall, with the 50th of them all. Mirror, mirror on the wall, whose second career is about to fall. Rachel Zegler is her name. This monstrosity will be her only smiley face. Show this to my friend before he skydived, and he jumped out the plane with no parachute. That mirror is lying, it probably came from Timu coming to the dwarfs look like they came from Chernobyl. This movie isn't releasing, it's escaping. This makes the B-movie look like a Vincent Van Gogh painting. Thank you, Disney, you're the world's best at destroying childhood dreams. Is Disney aware that Snow White is supposed to be more beautiful than the evil queen? Evil queen.
It's Hollywood, baby.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. No one's gonna watch this movie at all.
Weird.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Just how far will Disney fall?
Weird.
Further still.
Poor girl's never going to get past the weird thing, and she was just trying to be charming. All right, speaking of trying to be charming, Robert.
This is why you shouldn't try to be charming if it doesn't come naturally to you.
Yep, and that is what you excel at, my friend, so hit us with that less than charming plot synopsis.
Yeah, to the people who value authenticity over everything, here we go. So this largely follows the basic structure of the original story with a handful of notable differences. So we open with the opening of the storybook, which is actually a nice homage to how Disney animated movies all used to start.
But then you have these horrible CGI animals climbing on top of the book, and you go, dear God, it's all downhill from here.
My favorite part of the movie was the CGI animals. Keep going.
So we are told the story of Snow White, who is no longer white, but she gets that name because so if you don't hire someone, hang on, if you don't hire someone that actually like bears the physical description in the story, you have to come up with some reason. So now she was delivered in a carriage during a blizzard in random fantasy land.
I was perfectly fine with the reason. Let me say, if it was used to justify, no, that is stupid. The idea of naming her after the blizzard she came, I was like, that's actually kind of a cute idea. If it wasn't for the reason why you added it.
Stupider reason to name people. Like, for example, I remember this one crackhead mom when they woke her up from her crack-addicted stupor after having given birth. They gave her the baby and the birth certificate, and she said, "Why did you name my daughter Famali?"
Yeah.
So continue with the story of Famali and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah. So, and she's born to a happy parents, and they have the utopian kingdom where everyone works hard, gets what they need, no more, no less. Nice for the person in charge of things, isn't it? But then tragedy. They sing a song which isn't very good. The songs in this movie suck. Disney has lost their touch with music,
except for one.
Lost it.
And I will tell you which one it is. Which one is the best song in this entire movie?
You and I already talked about this, and we disagreed.
Yes.
That's fair. Anyway, so they sing a song, and then the mom dies of illness, and then Gal Gadot shows up, and is like, "I'm so pretty, I have magic powers because I'm pretty."
That works
and the
for
plot
me.
says,
Actually.
"Yes, you do."
That actually works for me. All pretty girls are magic. Keep going.
Well, Jerry Seinfeld did say they're like Godzilla. You can't stop them no matter what.
I agree.
So she marries the king and then sends him off to war, where he dies.
With South Country, by the way.
The South Country.
Yes.
King declared war on the scallops. Never came back.
He marched heavily towards that Caribbean area with where we found Prince Eric, and the Atlanteans rose up, and Triton had to fight with Namor over. Sorry, I am just way confusing all of these things.
You know, had he gone to attack China, they could have brought Mulan back, and that would have made this movie much better.
Go sit in the corner.
I will not.
Anyway, so now the king is dead, and the evil queen has taken control, and she turns the place into what every communist society turns into, a totalitarian dictatorship dystopia. It's how they all end up, people. I wish it wasn't that way, but...
Move along.
So then we fast forward to Snow White being Rachel Zegler instead of a small child, and Flynn Rider has stumbled into the castle at some point. I could think about.
Oh, I was gonna say it was an actor who thought that they were casting for a Princess Bride remake, and he wanted to be young Carrie Elways.
Sure, I could. minus all the charm, screen presence, and physical prowess, but okay. We're looking for a Carrie Elwes.
Hair in the chin.
We're looking for a Carrie Elwes type. I'm a Carrie Elwes type. Great, you're hired. Steal potatoes. So he's stealing potatoes, and the kingdom is falling apart. Rachel Zegler tries to reason with the queen. The queen says, no, this man must be executed for stealing the royal potatoes. So strap it, and Rachel Zegler goes, that's not fair. And fair is the magic word of the day. So the evil queen goes, what do you mean fair? I'm the fairest.
I'm convinced that, I don't know if it was the director or the producer, but someone told the scriptwriter, you get a bonus every time the word fair is uttered in this movie. We don't care what the context is, just you'll get a bonus.
Theory. It's not that they were giving the scriptwriter bonus, it's that the scriptwriter was 3. And it's
that too.
And it was one of the few words he knew.
I would buy that. But Rachel Zegler frees this thief who runs off, and it's at this point that the magic mirror tells the evil queen, you are no longer the fairest, because don't you see, fair has multiple meanings. Much like cleave, which I really wanted to do to this movie.
All right.
And she then says, fine, huntsman, random person, you take her into the forest, let her pick apples, then kill her and bring me her heart. And he goes, I mean, I might kill her, but do I have to like dismember and bring you the heart? She goes, yes, it's very important. Put it in this box. See the box? This is the heart box. Has to have a heart in it. And he goes, fine, takes the box, takes Snow White out, but then he can't do it because
he's not a psychopath.
Because he can't do it. So he yells at Snow White to run. A lot.
You were never told the truth about your father, but I'm not going to say anything else. Just get going.
Yeah, more on that later. So she runs through a CGI maze, does Rachel Zegler. Falls into a creek, washes up on near where the Seven Dwarfs live. She breaks into their house. She passes out on their beds. Then the 7 CGI monstrosities. These are the things Dead Cthulhu dreams up in real. Yeah, I am convinced of it.
I have seen high school blender projects that look more realistic than this.
I have seen prostitutes act more realistic than this.
I'm going to leave that one alone. So we get a clearly tacked on scene of them mining. That was not in the original script.
See, this is where Mark and I differ on the best song. See, I actually didn't mind this new version of Hi Ho because I felt it was the only song that really felt close to the spirit of the original film.
You've been to Florida, so you've been on the mine ride, right?
Actually, no. I didn't get to go on the mine ride because on no day that I was there was the line less than an hour and a half long.
Well, I've been on the mine ride twice. They took the mine ride and slapped on the CGI bullshit. That's that scene. Keep going.
Pretty much.
Okay. Well, no, what I said was like, you know what? I actually like the song. I just freaking hate looking at the screen during it. It's like if I had just heard the song on a soundtrack, I would have enjoyed it. Having to look at the horrible CGI, it's like, please, can I just watch this with my eyes closed?
This movie made me envy the blind and the deaf. So the dwarves come back and they find Snow White, and the usual shenanigans evolve there. They agree to let her stay the night, but she's like, no, the evil queen is after me. I should go. Right about then, the evil queen is like, okay, am I the fairest? And the mirror goes, no, you dumb, you dummy.
That mirror was such a waste of Patrick Page.
It was a waste of everything. And she's like, but she's dead. He's like, no.
Open the box. Take a look, you dumb bitch.
Yeah. So we can't even do the heart of a pig. Like, there's just nothing in the box.
You know, in the original Brothers Grimm story, she wanted the heart so she could eat it.
Yeah.
He said, it's like, okay, the huntsman brought the pig's heart back. She goes, okay, good. Go give it to the chefs. They cook it. She eats it.
I wish they had run with that, but had Gal Gadot in like the Hasidic Jewish, woman's getup. Just really put it out there. We're siding with you, Palestine. Gal Gadot's, what are we doing here? Anyway,
so
look, if we're just going to keep her interrupting the plot synopsis and pushing the review into 3 hours, I'm going to come up with my own stupid jokes.
But no, seriously, she opens the box and it's a freaking apple in there.
Anyway, so she then sends out her guard, like, no, go find Snow White. This is important. I have to kill her. Snow White then bullies the dwarves into doing housework before leaving. While leaving, she then stumbles into a real forest, which was jarring as hell to go from the CGI monstrosity to, hey, a real forest, where she runs into Flynn Rider again and his band of merry whatever they are.
I was thinking cosplay actors.
Because you must understand now, these bandits are literally, in this movie, out-of-work actors driven to this by taxation.
I just love that they have names, and yet I think only one or two of them actually get their names said. I got the cast list here. It's like there was Quig and Farno and Scythe and Finch and Maple and Bingley and Norwich. I'm like, and good luck trying to figure out who is who, because I sure as hell don't know.
The only one who actually like gets anything to do is Quig, the master of the crossbow.
So she meets these rejects from a Renaissance fair.
So, yes, Ren fairs. Yeah. So the acting troupe from the Ren Festival is here, and then the evil Queen's Guard show up, and there's a bit of a fight that looks less realistic than stage productions at your local high school. Flynn Rider gets shot, and they take him to the dwarves because they have Doc. He's a doctor, right? Well, he's a doctor like Jill Biden's a doctor, which is not the useful kind.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
I'm just making a joke about not the useful kind of doctor. That's all.
2 hours later.
But he's okay because the plot. Yeah, she looked for them because she thought maybe my dad's alive and they're fighting in the name of the king. And they're like, well, we don't actually know anything. So they go off like, well, we're going to go mess with the Queen's Guard. And for reasons, you then can slip through and go look for your dad. And right about then, the evil queen shows up in hag form. And good God, that transformation sequence was pathetic.
They missed the chance for the Queen's transformation sequence in the 1937 movie remains one of the, I wouldn't say scariest, but definitely one of the most haunting sequences in early Disney films. It is terrifying for young kids. And I was really, I didn't want kids to get like, shit their pants scared, but I was hoping for something kind of calling back to that, the horror of that scene.
The problem with Disney isn't that they ruin guys' IPs. The problem with Disney is that they've gone out of their way to sanitize everything, going back to the argument with Peter Dinklage. We don't want to offend anybody, so we make nothing of consequence. That is Disney's true crime.
True. So she gives Snow White the poisoned apple, convinces her to eat it, then says, I'm the evil queen, and I killed your father, and I'm the author of all your pain, and then flies away on a buzzard. The dwarves come back and are like, oh no, Snow White's dead. We're denied our actual point in the story of confronting the evil queen and repaying the kindness that Snow White showed us with helping her, because reciprocal acts are a affront to everything that goes on in movies, in these kinds of movies these days. Anyway, Flynn Rider breaks out of jail in a stitched together sequence that was added in post. Comes down, gives Snow White the kiss of true love to break the evil spell. Snow White then says, gather the Rohirrim, we will charge at dawn. Like, no, sorry, I'm going to turn into Little Red Riding Hood, walk through the streets of my town, rallying the townsfolk.
So,
which, by the way, there's not a lot of people living in this kingdom.
Yeah,
I know their budget.
Here's the real issue here, because we've been saying how this is like Lord of the Rings, but for chicks, and that's completely wrong. You know what movie this was actually trying to redo? Robin Hood.
Badly.
Yeah, terribly. But that's what they were going for. They're like, we really don't want to do Snow White. Snow White sucks. What if we make Snow White into Robin Hood and we tell that story? That's what they did here.
A reminder that there's a very real argument that the last really good Robin Hood movie was the Disney animated version of it, by the way.
But yeah, so she shows up as Little Red Riding Hood, which is what she was earlier in the movie, where she slept on the beds that weren't just right.
Yeah, anyway.
But that was Goldilocks.
So she rallies the townsfolk. And we overcome the villain with the power of song. No, wait, that's Wish. We overcome the villain here with her telling the palace guards, you have a name and a face. Remember it. And they go, boy, I did used to be a farmer. I'd much rather go back to back-breaking labor than a cushy job as a palace guard. You've convinced me, Snow White. And the evil queen, runs off to the mirror, and the mirror's like, you'll never be prettier than her. This is our bad version of the portrait of Dorian Gray now for some reason. And she breaks the mirror, which also kills her. She's sucked into the mirror dimension with Chris Pine's character from Wish. And Snow White inherits the kingdom, and everybody dresses in white with hoods. Sorry, wrong movie. They all dress in white. And we get a big song and dance number, and God help us, this is the end.
Oh, and the realization of who the narrator is, which I maintain is one of the worst sins that they could have taken with a Snow White remake. They make Dopey the narrator.
1,000,000% agree with you. I will yell about that in a minute. What a terrible decision that was.
Okay. Hey, Alexis, I hear you're really angry about this movie. So, since you've been waiting so patiently for us to get to this point, go ahead.
You know, in the past, when we talk about the live action remakes, I've compared them to one of two things. I said they were like sugar-free cookies, where it's like, yeah, you have all the pieces there, but what the hell's the point? On some of the better ones, like The Little Mermaid or The Jungle Book, I compare them to an overly fatty steak. I said, the pieces you want are there. You just got to cut through a lot of crap to get to it.
For the record, Mark and I have maintained for the entirety of the duration of this endeavor by Disney that the best of these is still Cinderella.
I've actually never sat down and watched it.
You're missing out on a great movie. It's a
good movie.
So
okay,
we've talked about this before. We did it with Little Mermaid, I think. But just to make sure people get it, Cinderella is the best made, but it didn't make the most money. Beauty and the Beast is the best made and made the most money. Lion King made the most money, but is one of the worst made. And somewhere in there is Aladdin, which was okay until the third act. Go.
Yeah, and what did you say? And then at the bottom, there's Pinocchio, which needs to be studied.
Pinocchio, Dumbo,
Mulan.
Mulan is terrible.
Yeah.
So like I said,
Mulan misunderstands the fundamental premise of what makes the story
very
work.
much so.
Somewhere in the middle of the nondescript ones is Pete's Dragon. Remember that one, Robin? Remember that one, Robert?
I do remember Pete's Dragon. We had a bit of a fight about that.
We did.
But then there was also Christopher Robin, which I think was one of the few that actually understood the
Everyone that saw it thought it was wonderful. The problem for the 48th time is no one saw it.
Yeah, Christopher Robin was well cast, well written. It's a genuinely heartfelt good movie, and unfortunately, it was poorly marketed and just didn't get an audience.
Keep going, Alexis.
Okay, so like I said, I've compared them to either sugar-free cookies or an overly fatty steak. I am calling this a cardboard cutout depiction of a cake. It doesn't offer anything. It's like, no, this isn't even as good as sugar-free cookie.
Well done.
It is like literally the cake is a lie. Okay.
Hang on, because I don't praise you because I'm too busy beating on you half the time to praise you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, the CGI abysmal. When the freaking deer came out of the shadows, I literally said, "Oh look, it's the early prototypes for the Bambi live action remake."
Those assets are going to be reused.
The dwarves, horrible, criminally underused. It's like, again, they put the dwarves in, but they don't really use them. Then they go to the bandits, but they don't use them. It's like, look, you want to use the dwarves? Fine. You want to use the bandits? Fine. But make up your damn mind. Okay? We do not need to have these two shoved together, and then we're supposed to act like we give a damn about any of the characters when neither of them are on screen long enough or developed enough.
Well, the most important person was Rachel Zegler's character. Nobody else matters.
I hate that I know that was a studio note they got.
What is Poochie doing right now? We must know where Poochie is at all times.
They should have cast Charlotte Flair. That would have been the only thing they could have done to make this worse.
Well, she's too white. That's the problem. Keep going, Alexis.
Well, she's too plastic at this point, literally.
This movie feels like it was written to be a satire of Disney movies. It reminded me of like Into the Woods, where it's clearly tongue-in-cheek, kind of poking fun at the tropes, but everyone forgot to tell them, oh yeah, by the way, you're satire. They didn't get the message. Everything likable about the original film is gone. I agree with you that the songs are horrible. I gave points to Hi Ho, even though I really hated looking at the screen during it. I hated what they did with the dwarves. I hate that, like I said, it's like, oh, look, they're sleepy and bashful. And oh, God, bashful didn't do anything. I swear, I think only 3 of them I could identify who they were. And of course, Dopey, just because he's the only one who doesn't have a beard. The whole thing with the bandits felt pointless. I literally shouted out, who the fuck is Maple? When they said it's like, you and Maple are great dancers. I'm like, well, which one is fucking Maple? That's the first time you've mentioned their names. You have a scene of them standing closely together like they're friends. It's like, you have not said a single word to them. Literally. Why are we supposed to care about this? I give a few points to Gal Gadot because I felt like she was the only one who kind of understood the assignment. I wasn't a fan of her villain song, but at least it looked like she was the only one who was having a little bit of fun with it and hamming it up.
That can't be her real voice. That had to be.
No. I guarantee you it's not. You can tell when they switch.
Yeah,
if you know how to listen.
That's somebody else singing for her.
Yeah, Gal Gadot cannot sing.
If it is, she's not credited. Because I can't find anything here on a.
I would guarantee you somebody else sang that song.
I hope the singer that replaced her voice was Palestinian, which is why she doesn't get credit. I'm having fun.
We're gonna get the weirdest community tag under this YouTube video.
Seriously,
history of the Israel-Palestine conflict.
Now, like I said, her villain song was bad, but at least she was hamming it up and chewing the scenery during it. So I was like, well, at least she's having fun with it. I've often said before that even the worst movies can be enjoyable if you could tell the actors were having blast, if there was a passion behind it. This movie is so soulless. I can't see anyone on the screen who looks like they're actually enjoying themselves. I can't see any part of this movie where anyone, set designers, costume. Okay, actually, I rephrase. Whoever designed the Queen's costume should probably be proud of themselves. I actually loved the stained glass effect.
Or start selling their wares at swinger houses. My God, the BDSM aesthetic in the Queen's outfit, fantastic.
Yeah. At what point did they get to? Does that subgroup get to co-opt like bodysuits? Those were around long before that.
But they've been co-opting them for a while now, pal.
No. They can be featured there, but that doesn't make it a feature of never mind. I don't want to go into this. We don't need it.
Next on the Whiskey Rebellion, Mark and Robert talk about BDSM lifestyles.
But no, I consider it a bad sign when the Comic-Con vendor watches a movie and all I can think is, well, okay, which costume am I going to see a cosplay of at the next con? And yeah, I give credit to the costume designers for the Evil Queen. Like I said, I like that stained glass mirror effect on the crown. I thought that was cool, but that's probably one of the only few things positive I have to say about this movie. Like I said, I just want to go pray for forgiveness at the Walt Disney Mickey Mouse statue. I want to offer a fucking sacrifice, and it's going to have to be Rachel Zegler just for going through this abomination.
The other reason you're okay sacrificing Rachel Zegler is I'm pretty sure even hell doesn't want her, so she'd die and then be resuscitated.
I can't wait for the Rachel Zegler comeback tour, where she's America's sweetheart, just like Brie Larson.
Mark, you can only have one of those. And if you hold your breath until it happens, I
will finally have what I've always wanted, the sweet embrace of death. I'm doing death jokes now too, Robert.
It's not funny when you do it.
Speaking of not funny when she does it, are you done?
Yeah, I guess. No, this movie is just... It really got under my skin. It really bothered me more than any other live action adaptation. And I can't even say it's the worst one, but it's the one that rubbed me the wrong way the most.
Well, you're allowed. You're not a middle-aged man. You're a almost middle-aged woman, so it's fine. You Judge Rattledge, I'll allow it. All right.
You can't be her defense attorney and the judge.
Says you. I have some interesting takes about this movie. One, it's the worst movie I've seen this year, bar none. This is worse than Section 31. This right now is my number one. If I had to make a list right now, there's only 2 movies on it. It's the worst movie I've seen this year. This is I said at the top of the show, I would much rather see someone's ridiculous vision than a stitched together Frankensteinian monstrosity trying to appease every audience and satisfying nobody. And that is my biggest problem with this movie. It's not because I'm the world's biggest Snow White fan. Again, not a girl. It's not because I hate Disney. Again, I act my age. It is because this is poor planning, decision-making, and business on the part of this multinational company. And that, as a capitalist, makes me sad. Also, as a creative person, you'll be much more rewarded even when you take an unpopular stance in your art than when you do something confusing and trying to appeal to everybody. So that to me is the world's biggest sin with this movie. Not all the garbage we talked about before. I actually don't hate the dwarves, believe it or not. They look faker than Roger Rabbit, but and it's fine if everyone else hates them. I really don't give a shit. I looked at them and I went, all right, I guess I know what you're going for here. You're trying to make these CGI people look like real people, but also animated fantasy characters, and you don't really know what you want to do, and it looks like it. That said, I looked at them and I went, all right, I get the jokes, but it doesn't bother me. It only bothered me because Rachel Zegler also struggles to work with CGI, and
does she?
Yeah,
so
the whistle while you work scene, especially, it's like you have no idea what you're supposed.
She is twirling around fucking green boxes and whatever, and however it was they decided to deal with the dwarves, and she doesn't know what she's looking at half the time or who she's talking to, and that is one of the worst things this movie did to her, was having to deal with that. Like I was starting to say before, putting the dwarves in and not sticking with the bandits was a poor narrative choice, poor thematic choice. If you wanted to do the as a take on Snow White, the spirit people, and then and have that group of people come out, you did them no favors by cutting their time. And as Alexa said, you don't know who these people are, so they become worthless. The guy playing the prince, Burnap, he's actually really good. He's one of the best parts of the movie. They don't give him a whole lot to work with, but what they do give him is some of the best stuff in the movie. He can actually act. He can actually sing.
He's moderately earnest. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I know we're jokingly calling him Flynn Rider, but we all like Flynn Rider,
Well, don't speak for me.
Well, apparently he's West End, and he's from West End and Broadway. Won Tony Award actually for Best Actor. So
he's great in this. And my favorite song in this movie, and I actually think the only good song in this movie, is "Princess Problems." It's hilarious.
Golf.
I nearly walked out of the theater at that.
I don't know why. I have no idea what particular brand of animal.
I can tell you why you like that song.
I love it when you psychoanalyze me, especially when I'm in the middle of something. But I genuinely enjoyed Princess Problems. I thought it was funny. It struck the tone. It's the only thing in the movie that actually struck the tone of the that was in the tone of the movie. Because everything else is such a mishmash and so out of place that the movie lost me almost entirely, almost from the get-go. But when I was watching Princess Problems, I was like, oh, for once in this movie, I'm actually seeing something in its entirety, uncut to pieces, something that wasn't pushed in post. I'm actually seeing the movie for the first time. It takes like an hour to get there, and it's only for a few minutes, but it's the only authentic part of this movie. That's probably why I like it so much.
Well, it's
the lyrical quality made me laugh.
Look, the other reason you like it and the other reason it stands out is it's the only time someone isn't obsequiously praising Snow White as the best thing since sliced bread and who walks on water, and he actually pushes back on her a little bit in that scene.
It was like watching two humans talk.
I actually have a question about the songs. So, because I was listening to "Waiting on a Wish," am I the only one that can't take a lyric like that seriously anymore because of the movie Wish?
No, let me tell you the real problem I had with a lot of the songs here. I can't unhear the other songs they're copying.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that this, I know why they cut it out, but that they did themselves no favors by getting rid of
Someday My Prince Will Come.
Someday My Prince Will Come. Yeah.
Look, I listen to Waiting on a Wish, and there's a bunch of places where you can hear Moana music. Like not the lyrics, but the music.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you think they were trying to copy Lin-Manuel Miranda too?
Not lyrically, but again, just purely musically. Yeah, there's a bunch of those. That I like. half of the Evil Queen song is clearly designed to be done in his like stupid rap style that they just bailed on, either because Gadot couldn't do it, or it wasn't testing well, or they just went, okay, you know what? So they keep the same musical pacing with it.
Speaking of Gal Gadot, she's fucking terrible in this. She looks great in the costume, but here's the thing, and Robert knows this because Robert has been with me for over 10 years now. It's actually longer than 10 years if you go all the way back to Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I'm almost your longest relationship.
You're damn close. It's much more successful. But yeah, she's tightly controlled in Batman v Superman. There's not and what she's asked to do for Wonder Woman is such that you don't notice she can't act. And
we get to Wonder Woman 1984.
Well, I'm skipping steps here. So, and what she's asked to do in the Fast and the Furious movies is here's the thing: Gal Gadot has charisma. Gal Gadot has pretty looks. Gal Gadot has a nice body. Gal Gadot gets by being Gal Gadot. Sorry, Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot gets by being Gal Gadot. And when you ask her to just be Gal Gadot, she'll give you good Gal Gadot. And so you get good Gal Gadot from her in the Fast and the Furious. You get just enough good Gal Gadot in the original Wonder Woman, Justice League, and Batman v Superman. When she was asked to lead a movie, the reason why
Justice League, not so much. I'll disagree with you there, but
her stuff.
That's a whole other can of worms.
Her stuff with Ben Affleck, I actually think is really good, but that's a whole other argument, which we've already had. When she was asked to lead a movie, see, no one talks about this one because it was on Netflix, and who gives a fuck? And and the people who made that movie didn't anger a whole bunch of other people. But Gal Gadot's lead Netflix movie that I think we talked about, but I don't know if we ever gave a full review to. It was horrible.
It was briefly on the schedule, and then we saw everyone reacting to it, and just both of us went, you know what? No, we're punting on this.
Okay, sorry, I just looked it up. The guys who wrote the songs for this also did La La Land, The Greatest Showman, and God Help Us, Dear Evan Hansen.
Okay, so hang on. So La La Land, which is schmaltzy stuff, they got to pare down much better music from a pre-existing project. And then Dear Evan Hansen, which
my daughter liked. Anyway,
my review of that stands.
Say The Greatest Showman, I give them a pass for the music.
So anyway, Gal Gadot.
Well, again, they got to steal it from the Broadway
career. So then she's in Red Notice, where that's pretty much The Rock and Ryan Reynolds show, and Gal Gadot just has to be Gal Gadot for a few scenes and do action stuff.
And the movie still sucks, but
so yeah. And then when they put more on her for Wonder Woman 1984, it was terrible. We just destroyed that movie. So my point is that Gal Gadot may have looked great in the costume, but I don't know if anyone cared that she couldn't act for shit. And this is going to be one of those things where I laugh every time someone talks about, like, Disney destroys people's careers, whether it's, Marvel or Star Wars or Disney live action, because how does Gal Gadot... Zegler will bounce back. She's young. She's pretty. She'll go away for a while. She'll learn a new hold. She'll come back. She'll be fine. How does Gal Gadot come back from this? How does Gal Gadot come back from being exposed this badly as such a poor actress? She goes back to doing reduced roles, I guess, but nobody's going to put her in a starring vehicle again. Nobody with eyes and ears.
Yeah, but doesn't that already exclude almost most casting directors in Hollywood these days?
So yeah, the last thing I'll say is my favorite part of this is this one CGI squirrel that kept doing close-ups of. He has the most emotion of anyone in this movie. I want to see his solo movie, and it's the same movie, but he's reacting, and I want to know what's going on in that squirrel's head, because not since Godzilla versus Kong have I seen a CGI animal emote so much. And I felt like most of the time he was doing what we're doing now, which is, oh God, what are you doing over there? Ugh, what is happening with this? The CGI fucking squirrel was fantastic. Yeah, overall, people have been commenting, oh, Rachel Zegler's so great in this. Dead-eyed. Just dead-eyed wood through most of this movie. All the charisma of an ice cream sandwich.
Hang on. These are the same people who said Halle Bailey was really good as Ariel. No. Halle Bailey, amazing voice.
Yeah.
Terrible actress. Rachel Zegler, good voice. Not good acting.
Cynthia Erivo, Rachel Zegler, Halle Berry, all can sing.
Bailey.
That's what I said.
You said Barry.
I said Bailey. In any case,
Like Chris Bailey.
Chris Bailey.
I ticked your. I forced your tick to come out.
Or your tick to come out. It's not enough that they can sing. It's not enough that they maybe can act. If you're asking them to be in a musical, unless it's an opera, you have to be able to do both on screen at the same time effectively. And she doesn't. And a lot of them don't. And I don't know why they continue to let this happen. But like just being able to sing and look pretty isn't gonna cut it. And that's all Rachel Zegler accomplished with this stupid movie.
Especially since they're Disney princesses. This is like the archetype of the archetype.
The last thing I'm gonna say is I hate the costume design in this. Other than Gal Gadot's
it looks cheap.
Well, I was thinking about this, like stuff that works in comic books and cartoons doesn't work in real life because both things have, a lot of times you have, I find this a lot with the comic book movies, and they've gotten around it in a lot of ways, but in many ways, part of the reasons why stuff looks stupid in comic book movies is because it is. No one would dress this way. No one would look this way. But the reason why you have such garish colors in comic books is because you're selling funny books to fucking children, and they like bright colors.
So not everyone can pull off a Spider-Man No Way Home where they actually made Green Goblin's costume look good. Yeah.
So like her going out to pick apples fucking dress, like I looked at this like this looks terrible on screen. And I don't know how I'm not a costume designer, and I don't know quite how to make Daredevil's costume work on screen or how Snow White's costume's supposed to work on screen or a lot of these people. But this looked utterly out of place. This movie has the most effective thing this movie did was keep taking me out of the movie. It was like we don't want you to we want to do the opposite of what fantasy is supposed to do. We don't want you enveloped into the story and in this world. We don't want it to feel lived in. We wanted to make sure you know it's as fake as a $3 bill. All right. After all that, Robert.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo a lot of that. The acting's bad. The singing's okay. The costumes are poor. The CGI is awful. The overly saturated, like piss gold hue they try to use for the forest scenes is grating on the eyes. The dwarves were very clearly added at the last minute. I mean, last minute's a bit of it, but when that, we talked about a little bit when that first story broke, like, no, there's no dwarves here. Behold the 7 forest spirits, and it's the bandits, basically. And everyone was up in arms, like, really? No. And they went, okay, fine, here's your dwarves. And they look awful. And you can tell they're not supposed to be there because everything they do is insular.
Yeah.
Everything they do is insular. They don't show up until Snow White shows up at the cabin. Then she has the one interactive scene with them, which, again, you can tell it was shot later because Rachel Zegler's accent is not consistent throughout this movie, so you can tell which parts were shot at which time.
Nor is her hair. They've got they have a Kate Mara Fan Forstic thing going on.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, the dwarves don't even do anything at the final battle. It's Quig who gets the shot, and the dwarves just kind of stand over there. It's like, yeah, we're with them, and it's supposed to be like, yeah, and who the hell are you?
Yeah, they don't interact with the actual story almost at all. It's really sad. The climax is an anticlimactic wet fart of a narrative beat.
Yeah.
You were never going to have an effective movie when you've chopped this thing all to hell and restitched it together. So there's plot points and things that go nowhere, are ended abruptly or resolved very stupidly because, well, we introduced it earlier, so now we have to pay it off. It's just all over the place. It's badly written. The inclusion of the dwarves, which one should have been there from the beginning, but I really am going to have to explain. I would like to sit down with whoever made the decision that, okay, there's 7 dwarves. Only one of them gets to have kind of the emotional beat here. So I need to sit this person down and start smacking them in the face while I explain to them in great detail why it was grumpy in the original and why it still should have been here.
Grumpy's the character arc. He's the one that shows the growth in the movie.
Yeah, but modern girls don't like angry men, so it had to be.
I don't care.
Now, I know that, hey, you're not in the audience, buddy. So for the people who missed it, it's dopey because this is what people in Hollywood want to see men as, and not grumpy because, So you don't get that anymore.
But yeah, no, the fact in the original, it's Grumpy who leads the charge to go save Snow White, and he's the one who leads the charge after the Queen. When he breaks down crying in the funeral scene, that's the emotional gut punch of that movie. Someone says, like, I could take anything except for Grumpy's tears.
Keep going, Robert.
Yeah, because again, the arc is I'm a little bit hostile. I don't like and I don't care much for a lot of people, and frankly, they don't care that much for me. And her goodness and patience and whatnot kind of cracks through his shell. And that's the important arc here. Believe it or not, this is true of all the old Disney animated movies. They are aimed at girls. There is something there for boys in all of them.
Sure.
It's not huge, but it's there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Eric is an aspirational figure in The Little Mermaid, right?
Yep.
It's a girl movie, but there's something for the guys who get dragged there.
Yeah, you're too far ahead. Let's go to Sleeping Beauty, where the prince fights a fucking
I was gonna
dragon.
get there.
Okay.
Okay. Prince Philip is the man. That is like, if you do a tier list of all the best Disney male characters, he's at the top. Yeah, that dude broke out of the evil fortress and killed the dragon. He's just a human. There's nothing special about him. He's not a magical creature. He's a dude.
He gets help, but he
yeah.
still had to go. He still had to do it.
And again, the help he gets is, I don't want to say it's not important, but like if he's not willing to rise to the occasion to be the hero, none of it matters.
It's the fairies give him a little extra defense. It's not like they're the ones who fire the sword into Maleficent. They just give him a little extra boost.
They get to be the Force. He makes the 1 in a million.
Pretty
shot.
much, yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah,
that's a good way to put it.
So in the original Snow White, the thing you have there for the boys is not actually Prince Charming, who shows up in like 2 scenes. It's actually Grumpy.
Right.
We know that you've got rough edges. Be willing to let other people help smooth them out and let your better nature rise to the occasion. Instead, because this is 2025 and we can't have good things, it's, Dopey doesn't talk. And he's got a baby face. Well, let's make him the emotional beat, and he'll find his voice by the end of it, inspired by Snow White, and he'll be the one that whistles. And you have misread the intent here. You have misread the effect that it has. And no good will come of this. You're bad at your job. Again, the ending is terrible. Here's my last complaint. I'm going to use Snow White to talk about this, but it is not the only real problem here. The decision to make every one of these quote-unquote fantasy towns look like Los Angeles in terms of demographic makeup is a problem. Hang on. I'm not just beating a drum here. If you take a still image of the people and the setting from the beginning, right? And I just showed you that and then said, okay, is this Snow White? Is this Beauty and the Beast? Is this Rings of Power? Is this Wheel of Time? Is this Willow? Is this The Witcher? You can't tell me because they all look the same. You have this desire for random diversity in background characters has created, ironically, everything being the same. There's no character. The setting should matter. The people should matter. I should be able to get...
I'm sorry, I was just saying, that's actually why the location shift in the live-action Little Mermaid worked.
A little bit, yeah. Again, we didn't complain about this with The Little Mermaid. Like we complained a little bit about Ariel because reasons, but ultimately we kind of just went with it because they did enough legwork to try and make it work. Here it's like, okay, I mean, your small provincial town in France has the ethnic diversity of London in 2024?
You got that from the Critical Drinker, by the way.
A little bit, yeah, but again, if everything looks the same, where's the character? The setting, the ambiance, the tone, this all should harmonize. And when this looks not that dissimilar from Game of Thrones, for crying out loud.
Can I raise a point?
Sure.
So while people are not like, God, they hate everything and everything is bad and it gets tiring to listen to, we didn't make this complaint about Wicked.
Nope. Believe it or not, did not make this complaint about Wicked.
Go back and listen to our review, audience that is watching, because you're an audience and not a panel member. People watching and listening. Go back and listen to our podcast where we discussed Wicked. We talked extensively about the set design, thought it at the very least should be nominated for Best Picture, if not win the damn thing. How the costume design and set design made you feel like you were in a faraway place. At no point did any of us complain we were taken out of the movie by any of those physical elements.
Well, in Wicked, they made the location feel, I don't want to say enchanted, but they gave it enough character that seeing a diverse cast did not feel out of place. They gave enough character to the location, and that is
That's why I'm raising the point of distinction between this and this mess of examples that you gave, because when people are like, but isn't there anything that's good? Yes, Wicked did it right.
Yeah, Wicked set itself in, first of all, a big enough town in the very beginning that, okay, there's a few bits of diversity, and then the rest of it's in a school, like the only magic school in the land of Oz. Yeah, you're going to get everybody there. So you're going to get people that look different. Okay, thumbs up, we're on the way. And yeah, the Emerald City's a metropolitan thing. So yeah, the problem really starts to be when all these places that are supposed to be different, that are supposed to feel different, that are supposed to have character as a setting, as a location, don't. And this doesn't. You know, you want to know the other movie that actually did this pretty well? I mean, I'm going to beat this drum, but Cinderella.
Yep.
Like, Cinderella as a movie is like unified in that respect. The setting looks like Cinderella. The town feels like that story, like that movie.
I want to go ahead and
thumbs up to that one.
You want to, if you're just like, do you guys ever talk about anything that you like? Yes. Go in the archives. 2015, our review of Cinderella. You want to see two grown men just gush about a Disney princess movie? It was that one.
Yep.
Said nothing but good things about it.
It really was. It's surprised both of us, if memory serves.
Goddamn right. That actually the distinction of being the week that Alexis started becoming more on board with us, because we had her on Long Road to Ruin for the Cinderella.
For the animated movies, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was that and the Harry Potter.
Yeah, we haven't been able to get rid of you since.
I
know, and you try. Oh, how
black
you
hole.
Try!
Dude, not even light gets out of this. I keep telling people. Anyway, I mentioned already. Like, the songs are just not good in this. Disney feels like all of its original songs now are just like bad self-referential things. Musically, not just lyrically. This is the worst movie I've seen this year, and I've seen several movies this year that I do not care for. But this is badly made, badly acted, badly produced. Everything about this is bad. The stuff that stands out as not actively bad only stands out to that degree because everything around it is bad. If you were to take any of the good, quote unquote good elements of this and put them in a good movie, a good production, they would look bad. They would look poor by comparison.
I don't know. I don't want to speak for Robert because the answer is probably no, and I can't speak for Alexis because who knows. But I will tell you that had they committed to the original vision of this movie and just made it the far left lesbian communist propaganda it was always meant to be, I probably would have loved it.
Almost certainly.
I would have.
You're that kind of guy.
I would have been cheering this movie. I would go to Scotland and find the Critical Drinker and just jump on top of him and be like, "You don't understand."
You and I would have had a fight. Is what that would have broken down on this. This review would have been you and I squaring up again.
Here, the only reason why I mentioned that, and then we'll go into the money, is this is a movie does not have to appeal to my political or aesthetic sensibilities. It just has to be solidly made. I don't care if the difference between I think me and Robert and very few others is I don't have to see myself or have my beliefs reflected on screen. It's nice. I mean, I said Hot Frosty was one of the best movies of the year because when it happens, I get overly excited. But I don't have to. It doesn't have to make it a good movie. And there's far too much of that now. Of what makes something good is if I see a reflection of myself in it in some way.
Hang on, I object to that a little bit. The fact that most of what we review is very antithetical to me, and I'm still able to say some stuff is good even though I don't care for it. Like, come on, give me a little more credit than that.
Okay, give yourself credit. I didn't want to speak for you. That's all.
And for the record, like my values and aesthetic, to the extent that you want to call it that, are almost never reflected back to me from screen. Ever.
You know what? Okay, I realize now why you're yelling at me. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. Both Robert and I do not have to see ourselves reflected on screen in either theme or values or in aesthetic or in casting. We can judge a good movie based on how well it's made, period, comma, at the end. The problem with this world has gotten to be if you don't see yourself reflected in some way on screen, you think it's bad, and that's why we're getting such crap movie after movie after movie after movie. Because if you erase my face, you erase me. And with that said, Cynthia Erivo's never going to live that down.
Nor should she.
With that said, screwing up my timing tonight. Here comes the freaking money.
I think a happy ending would be if she is the apple in the movie Fakes to Black.
Would have been.
Rooting for this apple cancel culture so I can enjoy the ads. Not even Oppenheimer could make such a bomb. Disney's going down faster and faster. This movie been released in the 1900s sites and it would have been forgotten as the worst disaster. Looks like none of them are in love with an I love the school. The United States military should use this movie as an interrogation tool.
It could.
Stepping up for a new career as a cashier at TJ Maxx. When the lead actor is so toxic, she poisons the apple instead. One popcorn couldn't give the princess, so he became one. Congrats for her tradition. So what is the apple but is unable to sue because she agrees to the Disney Plus terms and conditions. Like she's to rewind, look like a cinematic masterpiece. Knowing that this movie exists truly makes me jealous of the blind, the deaf, and the deceased. Mirror, mirror on the wall, Walt Disney disliked this from heaven. Mirror, mirror on the wall, March 21st is the new 9/11. The body is concerning for Vader. Shot the biggest shit and didn't even give us toilet paper. Coming to a theater near you decides to live off grid. My Wi-Fi tried to disconnect itself to save me from watching this. If she's Snow White, then I'm Michael Jordan. At this rate, Disney are gonna make Mickey Mouse a dolphin. This trailer makes Serbian Phil emotionally rewarded.
That's a low blow. That's a low blow.
Here is the one Disney's executives. On the wall, when the Lord Farquaad gets so tall. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who approved that wig after all? Mirror,
question.
mirror on my screen, can this trailer be unseen? Mirror, mirror on the wall, what's the shittiest remake of them all?
Thus far, it is in fact this one.
Can we give a shout out to who that YouTube owns, or the guy who did that YouTube channel? Let's at least give props where they deserve.
Yeah, it's Chat Music. If you
It's
like
Chat Music, but what's the name of the YouTube channel that posted those videos?
Chat music.
Chat Music.
Oh, it is? I thought there was something else. Okay.
I'm going to yell chat music at you again.
Sorry.
Are you?
Who's
All right.
on first?
All right. Well, my favorite part of the money is the
Not
battle,
even 50.
is the battle that like the shills are having with the truth. Because it's like you'll get like I don't know which one it is, so I'm just throwing random things out there, but like screen rant is like, oh, it was the #1 movie of the weekend, so it's a win. And then it's like something else. It's like it grossly underperformed and is going to lose them tons of money. But it's crossed 100 million at the box office worldwide. Yes, but it's
on a budget of $300 million once again.
Yeah, it's really funny to see who obviously is trying to maintain like their status with Disney, and those who don't give a fuck. We report the news. I'm sorry your movie didn't do as well. Go fuck yourself. Speaking of go fuck yourself, the budget has the reported communist propaganda budget is $270 million at the time of recording.
Probably closer to 3.
Yeah, it's made 87.3. Good God.
Oh.
I just love how there's two groups of journalists. One who say Snow White wins the box office and Snow White musters a poor debut. It's like, and you can tell which ones are working for the mouse.
We just said that, yes. As of March 23rd, 2025, Snow White grossed $43 million in the U.S. and Canada, $44.3 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of 87.3. As I said, the Hollywood Reporter surmised that the film would need to gross $500 million to reach its box office safety net.
No. That's not how this works, Hollywood Reporter, and you should know better.
Yeah.
Let's do some quick math on this, shall we? At 270 again, that's probably underreported by 20-ish million.
Let's round up to 300 million just to be on the safe side. It has to make at least 600 million or more.
So 600 million, not including advertising and delay fees, right, by the way, of which there were many.
So 2 years ago, when we did the money and we talked about how much Disney bled to the point that it had to kick everything into this year, they're going to be, so last year, they came out with the, with the hot scoring at the end. They had Moana 2 and they had Mufasa and a couple of others right there towards the end. We're like, all right, they actually did well this year. Inside Out 2 was the surprise hit to the tune of $1 billion. So, Disney bought themselves a year, but they're going to, this is going to be like when Holly, what was the name of the movie, Robert? Margot Robbie, Babylon. When Babylon canceled out Paramount Plus's earnings from fucking Top Gun Maverick.
Pretty much.
Everything they earned at 2024 is going to get canceled out with everything they're going to lose this year. All they did was delay the inevitable. Anyway, in the U.S. and Canada, Snow White was released alongside The Alto Knights, which bombed hard, and Ash, which absolutely nobody saw. It was projected to gross 45 to 55 million from over 4,200 theaters in its opening weekend. The film was initially projected to gross 63 to 70 million, with analysts comparing projections to the 69.4 million opening of Maleficent in 2014. Oh, the salad days of 2014 Disney.
Bear in mind also that 60 million in 2014. Look up the inflation rate for between now and then tell me that's the same thing. It's not.
And we're getting close to having to use leaves for currency. And believing that the film would overcome its controversies and fare well financially, given their being, I do love religion and faith.
I've got beachfront property in Omaha to sell you if you're buying that.
No strong competition against it on opening weekend, but in the late February, projections were lowered to the basement. Film made 16 million on its first day, 3.5 million in Thursday previews. It went on to debut 43 million, still managing the tops of the box office. The underwhelming opening was blamed on so-so audience scores and underwhelming reviews, as well as
not on the movie being bad.
Yeah, no, of course not, never. As well as the changes made from the source material and the controversy surrounding Zegler and Gadot. That was another common thing I saw amongst all the angry YouTubers, was how they're not going to take any lessons from this. This is going to be the Lucasfilm playbook. It's the fans' fault. If guys like the Critical Drinker and Mr. H reviews and My Nerdy Home, because I got to get the one in there who's pretty and does videos. If they hadn't ripped this movie to shreds for months and months on end, none of this would have ever happened. It's like,
I don't understand how a handful of YouTubers live so rent-free in those executives' head, but they apparently have the power to destroy anything.
Yeah, Mr. H reviews, who apparently has enough time on his hands to make a zillion movies about the same subject per day. apparently is quite the force among the Disney executives.
Single-handedly threatening the Disney apparatus. That guy.
Yes.
With a YouTube channel.
Whose sole power is to read an article and yell, "It's bad," every other line. But I digress. Anyway.
Do you, Taz?
Snow White was the #1 movie of the weekend, as I said, with $42 million domestic. Black Bag, in its second week, remained at #2. Captain America went up a spot for some strange reason. Were people doing double features with this and Snow White?
No, Novocaine fell harder than expected.
That's
so that
painful.
went. Captain America fell. Novocaine, painful. 4 to 3. Novocaine fell from 1 to 4. Yeah, I don't feel like playing the sound and potentially scaring somebody who might be listening to this while they're sleeping. But yeah, that bombed hard.
Speaking of hard bombs, Mickey 17.
Yeah, Shitty 17 fell from 3 to 5. The Elton Knights debuted at #6. Fucking, that's going straight to Max. That's just gonna skip PVOD. The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, fell from 5 to 7 and did well enough that they're thinking about selling Acme versus Coyote to catch up. So
people, go see that movie. It's good, and you need to send a message to Warner Brothers and David Zaslav.
Alexis has not been able to hug and kiss her husband ever since they took Acme versus Coyote off of out of theaters and off of Max and out of a tree. Please help Alexis save her marriage. Give Coyote versus Acme a showing somewhere, people, for God's sakes.
You know, everyone had to bully them into releasing that in the first place, and the petulant response from WB was just fine, but we will spend literally zero on promotion.
There's apparently a rumor now that Zaslav wants to sell the rights to the Looney Tunes themselves.
Yeah, I did. So, Alexis, did they have to? I don't know what the version of Baker Act is in Missouri, but were you forcibly hospitalized when you learned that the Looney Tunes were pulled off of Max?
Thankfully, I have another source. For the record,
that's what drug addicts say.
You're not wrong. But for the record, Zachary Strobel and I actually talked about this specifically on our review of The Day the Earth Blew Up, and just trying to comprehend why Warner Brothers has basically taken their mascot, their version of Mickey Mouse, and just decided, you know what, it's not useful anymore. So if you're
Zaslav is terrible at his job.
Well, besides that, but yeah, go check out our review. We had a lot of fun. And go check out the movie. It's good. It's really good.
As David Zaslav's attorney, I would like to enter the following into evidence. This is not the first time Warner Brothers has decided we don't want trash. We don't want the hoi polloi. We want to lift. We want this company to ascend. We want to produce more art, more, we want
and they made
higher brow audience.
And they made Joker Folia do. What's your point?
No, you're off by about 20 years. This is when they got rid of WCW is what I'm referencing. Robert was about to know what I was talking about.
As the prosecuting attorney, that move has never gone well for WB.
All I said is this is not new territory. This is not new behavior.
Oh, so you're okay. So your argument is that David Zaslav is just stepping on the same landmine that everyone else has stepped onto, and you're just.
I prefer to think of it as culture. This is the culture of Warner Brothers. As they look around and they're like a crazy person. They just look around and they go, everything here is terrible, and they set everything on fire. Every couple of years, this happens.
So. Okay, this argument still holds no water, by the way. My culture is child sacrifice. Well, guess what? You're still going to jail.
I had an African studies professor in college who told me a thing that there were certain cultural elements that were accepted in Africa, and that I needed to be culturally appropriate and accepting of whatever stupid thing they were doing in Africa at the time, despite the fact that my Western values said they were wrong. So by that logic...
Did you tell this idiot that, no, some things are just better than others?
No, Robert, I was trying to get out of college, preferably with passing grades. Anyway, yes, psycho. Speaking of psychos...
Yay, moral relativism. That means all we're left with is who has the authority to enforce their will. Boy, let's take a look at where that gets us.
It gets us to The Monkey, which went from 9 to 8, and Dogman from 8 to 9. Well, everyone's just trading places here. The Last Supper, which I saw the trailer for that, actually looks pretty good, from 6 to 10. Paddington in Peru from 7 to 11. Locke debuted at 12. Magazine Dreams, which we're going to get to eventually, like later in the year, that debuted at 14. Yeah, I threw it in. Pat and I talked about it. We're throwing that in with Queen of the Ring, and hopefully, or whenever the Wrecking Crew comes out as a triple feature. So eventually, we're going to get to Magazine Dreams. That debuted at number 14. Ash debuted at 16. Yeesh. And The Assessment 21. Bob Trevino likes it. Good for Bob Trevino. That debuted at 28. Secret Mall Apartment, which is where I'll be living if things don't get better. With 33. Metaconia debuted at 36. Being Maria, 42. AUM, The Cult at the End of the World, Where Robert Lives, is 47.
Hey.
What?
I thought we quashed that.
And that was the weekend that was. Alrighty. Chinaman cartoon is currently number 1 in the world at over $1 billion, and I hope it stays
I hope it stays there. I hope Avatar can't catch it. This will be the funniest thing in the world to me. It's about to cross $2 billion.
I still maintain when a Chinese movie makes that much, it's like, so they held everyone in China at gunpoint and forced them to buy a ticket, right?
I hope everyone went willingly, and I hope this is a worldwide phenomenon. I hope white kids are talking about this Jina, Zenza, ramen soup, whatever it's called. In school.
You know what? I will watch it if it gets if I can find if it gets some kind of a digital release.
I hope it wins Best Animated Feature next year.
Well, that won't happen.
Speaking of not happening, Captain America: Brave New World is the number 2 movie in the world at a paltry $401 million. That was another thing.
Money.
That was another thing. It's like, oh, it crossed $400 million. Great. It had to cross a.
So it only needs even if we take the propaganda number, it still needs another $100 million.
Yeah. Dogman. Number 3 movie in the world at 129.
Okay, hang on. I know it's early, so this discrepancy is not a big deal. But the fact that Neja 2 is worth 3 of Captain America: Brave New World.
Okay. Bridget Jones.
Then we have a drop to another like 3.5.
Yeah.
It's worth 3.5 of Dog. We have these giant gaps between places, but for 1, 2, and 3.
Take 3. Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy, even without a domestic theatrical exhibition because it's on Peacock, is at 121. Good for Bridget Jones. Mickey 17's at 109, and that is the last of anything that crossed 100 million at the box office.
Okay, Snow White will cross 100 million eventually.
Yeah.
It's not getting to 2.
It debuted at number 6 at 86, ahead of The Monkey, which was made for a fraction of the price and is twice as good.
And is significantly more profitable.
Den of Thieves, Panteras at 57. One of Them Days is 50, and Flight Risk is number 10. Good for Flight Risk. Other movies of note that we've talked about this year. Companion is at number 12 with 36. Wolfman Naru is at 34. Hard Eyes is at 32, which is currently, I believe, is
Hard Eyes, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Modern Dating.
Yeah, Andre and I saw that last week. It's cute.
It's quite good. I enjoyed it. It should absolutely put you off dating. Black Bag, which I'm going to try to see, and I think we're doing that with Death of a Unicorn next Thursday. So I haven't quite gotten the word yet from Chris and Neil, but I think that's what we're doing. That's at number 15. Mobile Gundam Suit the beginning is at 23 at 16. Last Breath is 18. Novocaine, 19 with 20 million. Just ahead of Love
Doing
Hurts.
Better than Love Hurts.
Which nobody.
You know what? I appreciate they actually tried to appropriately budget those movies, but this is not a good year for the pseudo action vehicle, it seems. Like you actually have to have something going on.
All right, well, that was the weekend that was. Next week we die. Next week we've got Working Man and Death of a Unicorn. It's hard to say which is going to be the number 1 movie of the weekend. Might even be Snow White. Who knows? But
no,
I think unfortunately, as good as Death of a Unicorn looks, and I'm excited to see it, I think Snow White's going to hold another week.
You think so?
I do. Put my money on it.
Okay. Alexa
I think
says,
it drops. Here's the question:
mm-hmm.
It's going to drop 60%, right?
I'd say it's fair.
I'm going to go 70.
Okay.
Go on.
So 60 to 70. It's not going to only do 50. So call 65% of 42. Then the question becomes, do you think either Working Man or Death of a Unicorn can make more than what?
So
20,
Death of a,
let's put it this way, 20. Right?
So Death of a Unicorn, I'm sorry, A Working Man is a adaptation of a Chuck Dixon, who's a comic book writer, the one novel that he wrote. It's an adaptation of that, and not the first time it's been adapted, as I understand it. But it's a very male-oriented, and I mean like adult male-oriented movie. And a lot of them don't go to the theater anymore because people are terrible. So that's going to struggle.
Again, the question is just, can either of those two hit 20? If you get to 20 million, you're going to beat Snow White in its second week, I think.
It's possible. And Death of a Unicorn, I mean, A24 has dumped some money into putting trailers out there. I've seen some posters at the theater, but if you weren't a movie nerd, would you know Death of a Unicorn was out there? Have you seen it? Have you seen it in your scrolling, on the Instagrams and the Facebooks and, and the TikToks?
It also is giving kind of a avant-garde, artsy, very weird film kind of vibe in the trailers. And I think larger demographics are not going to be interested in something like that.
So all you've got left is kind of like Jenna Ortega fans. And is she out there, hitting the pavement, putting the word out this thing? I mean, again, I don't know. I haven't seen much of it. I know of it, but I live at the movie theater, so I've seen the trailer a bunch of times. It's hard to say. A24 either knocks it over the fence or fucking hits the umpire with a bat. So it'll be hard to say. But
occasionally a bird flies in front of the pitch.
After that is Minecraft, and by that point we're done with Snow White. Minecraft will absolutely be the #1 movie of its weekend. God help us.
Oh yeah, and it's going to be terrible.
Yeah. There's a bunch of movies.
The CGI this year is a race to the bottom.
There's a whole bunch of movies coming out in the following weeks. We've got The Amateur, which my son wants to go see. Drop, which is the thriller horror movie thingy with the woman dating and the slasher in the house. Then there's the movie then there's truly the horror movie that's going to scare the piss out of my daughter, Warfare, which I can't wait for.
I still can't believe you're taking your poor daughter to see that.
Because one should learn coping skills, not hide from the world. And then we've got WrestleMania, and then, hey Robert, it'll be a month late by this point, and everyone's already made their videos about it. But we are nothing if not always late to the party. But it doesn't matter because what we have to say is that important that people will come back for it. In a month, the Electric State, Robert. I singled that out for us to talk about before I knew what it was.
May God have mercy. Say, may God have mercy on both your souls.
I don't want to watch it. I don't want to talk about it. I will because I'm committed to this show. But I've seen not only is like the giant pile of money Netflix burned on that terrible. It looks like an awful movie.
Yeah. What's amazing is that it's adapted from a book, which is mostly pictures. And when I was doing research on this, I was like, because originally I thought it was a comic because it was adapted from the graphic novel. So a graphic novel, I've learned, means two things. It either means what we think of as a trade paperback or a comic book, traditionally what you think of as a graphic novel, or literally novel with pictures. This is from what I understand, the original Electric State is like a coffee table book of like pictures that deal with ideas about the future, and it's from what I understand, it's pretty artistic and a very well received book that the Russo brothers apparently looked at from across the hall in a drunken stupor one night and said, "Movie," because that's about as much as it has to do with the original book.
And you know what will be a good idea for this? Millie Bobby Brown, right? People like her. Yeah. And Chris Pratt. And because Chris Pratt in another sci-fi war movie won't go tits up, right? Not like that happened 3 times in the last 5 years.
All right. So with that said, since we're getting close to 2 hours here and I would like to someday go to bed, ladies, God damn it, you people with your requests and things of me. And I just, Why?
There's only one more verse to it, Mark. There is part 4.
I know. You and your do everything to make you happy, and you do nothing for me.
You know, I'm gonna stop doing everything I do, and we can just revisit that point if you like.
No, Master. I apologize. I don't know where my head went. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the critical review.
I showed this trailer to my therapist, now he's in therapy. Snow White, hello, anybody here, projector operator, just me. Snow White and the $7 total box office. King Kong movie janitors are getting a day off with this one.
True.
Threaten my kids with this trailer when they misbehave. Toddler, this is the perfect movie to watch on a plane. The odds of two. Stephen Hawking would have walked out of the theater. So watch
God.
this film. Mirror, mirror on the wall. A fight in the 7 pronouns. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Tell it, just gouge her eyes out. No one looks like those Indians that built houses in the touch hearts. Now they touch you like a creepy uncle. Theaters near you. Please don't do it. I have a family. This is possibly the only step on video I haven't wanted to see. The dwarfs look like unused models from the Polar Express.
Oh God, they
She
do.
don't need no like she independent now, independent from success. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Snow woke and the 7 gender. Mirror on the wall. Snow White and the 7 registered offender. Mirror on the wall. Let me give my therapist a call.
Please do.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. One shall stand and one shall fall. Shut it.
I didn't even know they did a fourth one. I
Yep,
thought
it
was
came
just
out not too long
3.
ago,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
like
I
3 days
missed
ago.
it. I was so busy with Planet Comic-Con, I missed it. Oh God.
Well, with that said,
Chat music is a gift. The people running it need to be okay. You people deserve every bad thing that comes to you. I can't help you when they. Okay, I'm assuming this is a bunch of self-selection.
so my thought here is, I'm listening to you talk, and I can only think of my dad. You know, when he was trying to teach me the metric system, and I just, no matter how many times I tried, I couldn't get it. And it's like, all right, if you think 2 times 2 equals shoes, there's no point going any further with this. As my father said to me and wrote on my homework once, you were too stupid to learn this. True story. What can one say? What cracks me up about this is that 74% on the audience score isn't reflective of ticket sales in any way, which means the 5 people who saw this thought it was good.
Yeah, pretty much. There's people are towing the line about this one. Is all that is.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard of this movie's being review bombed, but like review boosted.
Well, here's my other thought about this. I'm wondering how many people watch this were already favorable towards Rachel Zegler, maybe not be tangentially aware of what, the bearded incel wing of the internet has done to this poor gal and what she did to herself, but I digress. And are like superficially keyed into what they think about her, and that's what's causing them to think this movie is better than it really is. It's
Probably.
like, well, we like Rachel Zegler, and we don't like what the mean white people did to her, so fuck this movie, fuck these people. Rachel's Snow White's awesome.
It's not.
Having to unpack this movie is giving me like high blood pressure, by the way. Like, I'm gonna be done with this review and go stick my head in the freezer. Speaking of which, the tomato meter is 43%. If you go to Top Critic, it's 28.
Yeah.
Boy, Walt.
A full like half of those fresh reviews are just the shills.
Yeah. And then the verified audience is 74. All audiences. Oh God.
Okay. Okay.
All
Oh
righty.
my God.
There we go.
Who are
Okay.
you people?
Wow.
So
I was going to say, I think somebody just literally jumped off a cliff and took that review with them.
for the audience who's listening to this and remembers when this used to be a podcast, 10,000 plus ratings drops the audience score to 22%.
That's more accurate.
However, if you go to the verified audience of 1,000+ people, wow. I just said that out loud and realized what we're talking about here. It jumps way up to an artificial, completely irrelevant 74%.
Yeah.
Moving on. And the AI at gunpoint wrote, Snow White is hardly a grumpy time at the movies thanks to Rachel Zegler's luminous star turn.
Not even close.
But its bashful treatment of the source material, along with some... I wish this was longer and they got all 7 in there.
I have never wished death on AI before, but damn it, I'm really close. That is bad.
You wish death on AI every time I do use it to do artwork and I don't ask you. With some dopey stylistic choices won't make everyone happy either. Right, grumpy, bashful,
dopey.
They missed Sneezy and Doc.
Happy. Oh, there could have been another sentence there. Like, if you watch this movie, you'll be all sneezy. Doc? Eh? All right. Giving myself a headache.
As you should for that.
Rachel Leishman of the Mary Sue Robert Winfrey of Honeysuckle Rose Creations. Rachel Zegler's performance as Snow White did the impossible. She managed to make me care about Snow White as a character. All right, you feminist, lesbian, communist. Jesus Christ, calm yourself.
This is literally just tribalism. That's all that is.
Sorry, I agree.
Speaking of lesbian communists, Stephanie Zascherick of Time Magazine, top critic.
I mean, you assume.
But I repeat myself. This Snow White emerging in an era of government-sanctioned cruelty. Hey! Do you remember Robert Winfrey of the Screaming Boy podcast? Why we started doing this in the first place?
Because these people are so bad at their jobs, they deserve to be publicly castigated for it.
The amount of reviews, this is where we had to coin the term Trumpy. The amount of Trumpy reviews, the people, everyone was like so bothered by his election the first time around that like everything was reviewed through that prism. Well, we're back. The Snow White.
We are so back, baby.
Woo! Emerging in an era of government-sanctioned cruelty seems to know exactly what it's saying. Even if it chooses to speak only in discreet whisper. It's the right Snow... It's the Snow White we deserve, not the Snow White we wanted.
Nothing about that is true.
Now I'm smiling too much. Justin Chang of The New Yorker, top critic. The new Snow White has its own illusions of depth, though not the kind one that one can commend.
It does sink to the depths of depravity.
Alrighty. Hey,
friend. Of course.
Kevin Carr, a fat guy at the movies. We've missed you, friend. With a fantastic performance by Zegler and a great look. You've got to be kidding, sir. I want to know your porn history if you think that's a great look.
No, keep reading. He's saying the great look is Gal Gadot.
Okay. With a fantastic performance by Zegler and a great look, though admittedly clunky presentation by Gal Gadot. All right. Read ahead, you bitch. This new Snow White is remarkably bright, entertaining, and fun.
No,
this is not bright. It's overly saturated. Those are not the same thing. I was definitely not entertained, and where in the world do you get fun out of this? How desperate are you for validation, Kevin Carr? Have we bullied you that much?
Sarah Vincent of Sarah G. Vincent Views. For those raised during the peak Disney musical 90s era with Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King, Pocahontas, and Mulan, Snow White elevates the 1937 film to that level of excellence.
Not even close.
Boy.
You are... Okay.
What mirrorverse are you living in?
Okay.
You are lying about being raised and seeing those movies in theaters. You have to be. There's no way you can look at this and compare it to any of those animated projects. None.
Side note, you're actually going to group in Pocahontas with Beauty and the Beast and The Lion King? Are you kidding me?
She's talking about a time period, not necessarily a quality one. And
well, then she could have talked about the second renaissance of Disney instead of quoting all of these movies like someone who's done her research. Pathetic.
She's just going down the Disney wiki.
Speaking of a time and not quality, The internet's early monster, Doug Walker of Channel Awesome, a Disney film production with a Disney Channel script.
That's giving this script too much credit.
Mike McGranagan of Aisle Seat, breaking news, Snow White killed by Seven Dwarfs. How is that helpful?
That is a terrible review.
I was going to say, I don't even get how that fit. I mean, obviously that's just a snippet from the review, but I don't get how it fits into it. Although I think a horror movie where Snow White was killed by the Seven Dwarfs would have been much more entertaining, and I would have much rather live in the alternate universe where that's the thing.
All right. Rain Jockenin of mullingmovies.com. The film's biggest sin is not in any of its controversies, but that it is simply not a lot of fun.
Well, supreme potentate of fun over here. The fact that I agree with you doesn't make it a bad point to make.
Jeffrey Harris of 401mania.com. Disney's Snow White remake features lots of unnecessary padding and expansions of the 1937 animated classic, which amounts to little more than a tepid, bland, and uninspired remake.
He is kinder than I was.
Kurt Loader, asking what I do at the swinger party house. How much does it suck, you ask?
How's Kurt
Loader for your pull?
I was gonna say, and how the hell is Kurt Loader still alive?
The blood of the innocent.
There we go. Alan Ing of Film Threat, who I've come to notice recently because I've been watching a lot of Chris Gore stuff. Every modification fails to improve the tale, and the whimsy and wonder of fairy tales are missing. It does not honor the original, but shuns it instead.
I agree.
Very true.
I agree.
Paula Pardo Luz of Cinemania Spain. Snow White is still the fairest in all the land. That's racist.
Sometimes I wonder how Rotten Tomatoes programs in to pick which sentence.
We ask that every week and every week. Boy. Let's see. Oh, good. Travis Hobson of Punch Drunk Critics. It's not quite fairest of them all, but hardly a poisoned apple either.
How's that fence you're sitting on there, jackass?
Well, aren't you? I was going to say, I was just like, hardly a poisoned apple. Well, don't you look like the clever one? Give me a break.
Yeah. Tell that to Disney, who burned the gross domestic product of Honduras for the last 2 years on this.
Oh, look who's at the bottom.
The future ex-Mrs. Robert Winfrey, Tanya Lamb of Lola Lamb Chops. Disney's Snow White is good enough for kids.
This is why I have full custody.
Perfect.
You've been thinking about that line for a while, haven't you?
No, that one just came to me, actually. Well, even Amy Nicholson doesn't like it.
Well, hang on. Susie Camyab, I'm writing you Camyab. This chick's flicks is Walt Disney's newest live-action remake of the 1937 classic Snow White, the fairest of them all. Not quite, but it is certainly not the worst remake. Yes, it is.
It is still not worse than Pinocchio.
I don't know about that. Pinocchio at least had the good sense to just be on Disney Plus.
There is that, but I don't know. I still say Pinocchio was far. I'm not saying that makes this a good movie. Far from it. I mean, that's like saying would I rather have this hand cut off or this hand cut off? Okay, they both suck.
Best friend of the show, Whitney Seibold of Slash Film, who I'm starting to think is on drugs.
I hope.
The result is, despite the mercenary motivations, affably watchable.
No.
It's hollow, but unlike some more recent remakes, it seems to have thoughts in its head. Ugh.
No, it doesn't. But I love that counts as a positive review when it's a 6.5 out of 10.
What thought is in this thing's head?
Manuel Sal Bento, which I ordered once from a Chinese restaurant. Fandom Wire. That was an all fucked up joke. That was like, woo.
Yeah.
Woo!
That did not stick the landing, folks.
Right on its head. With a stronger, thematically richer script and a convincing romance, exciting new songs, and an updated vision that respects the essence of the classic, this remake proves that there's room to revisit old stories and make them more tantalizing.
My man, I hope the check cleared.
Okay, if there was any convincing romance, it's all in the actor who played Jonathan, who again is good in this and actually does have charisma. So it's like, okay, if there's any captivating romance, it's all on him, not Zegler.
My children,
I sincerely hope his check from Disney cleared for that, because good God.
My children hated this movie. And I mean before they saw it. Like, I go to the girlfriend was over, and I go, girlfriend, we will go to the door now, and we will leave, and we will go by car to the movie theater. Is how modern transportation works. And she says, yes, boyfriend, that is what we will do. And I say, children, come to the door. It leads out of the house to the car where we will take it to the movie theater. And they say, yes, father, we are putting on shoes, as is wont to do, so as not to dirty the feet. And we get to the door, and my children looked at me, doe-eyed, tears streaming from their eyes, pain in their heart caused by you, Snow White. And they said, Father, they called me Father. They pleaded with me. They said, is it really necessary for you to drag us to this nonsense?
Can I just take a few licks with the belt, sir?
Send us back to our mother. She will at least ignore us, and we won't be dragged to a Snow White remake. Father.
Stick us in the mines where we might search for coal, just
Robert
anything.
was right. And it wasn't crazy rantings from God only knows where. We do yearn for the mines. Please, Father, don't take us to the cinematic abomination that was Snow White. And I said, children, pain.
It builds character.
Builds character.
I was saying, are they still interested in seeing the live action Lilo and Stitch?
My son punched my daughter, and he said, did that build any character, you old man, you? And while his back was turned to her, she got up and hit him with a steel chair. And she said, what about that, Father? Does that build character? And the girlfriend said, I will go to the car. Because I do not wish to be a part of this character building exercise, you weirdos. And I said, children,
Oh my God.
And I said, children, you must stop this. We are damn you, Hollywood. And they said, you are damn you, Hollywood. We are nothing. You did this with the old man who hates everything. This is not our problem. We will go back inside and watch TikTok. And I said, no. TikTok is for the hoi polloi and the lowest of the brow. You will go with me. And you will watch the Snow White and you will be made better for it. And they said, how? How will we be better by this? Nothing is made better by Snow White.
It's a fair question.
Fucker, you're making my eye makeup run.
And I said, you don't see it now because you are weird children. You have no experience. You are still learning. But you will see the Snow White and you will feel pain as I feel pain. And you will have the experience and wisdom of the ages. And you will come out the other side cleaner for having gone through the poop that is Snow White. And so we went and we saw the movie. And they walked out of it and they said,
damn you, old man.
And they said, it can't get any worse than this. Can it, Father? And I said, oh, sweet summer children. We still have the summer to go. And that was my experience taking my children to go see Snow White. Even my daughter, who likes everything, walked out of this movie and went, what the fuck? What are we doing here?
I was going to say, the pictures that you posted, the art project of your children in front of this poster, I got to ask, did you pose them in any of them, or did they do any of those on their own? And follow-up question, how many of those were taken before you went in, and how many of those were taken after the movie?
They were all taken before.
Okay.
And I don't pose my children. What are you, some kind of weirdo? Children, dance for me. No. We are an artist family. We pose the way the muse strikes us, you see, Fairchild. I say, go to the poster, and I say, give me good pose, and they go,
the only thing missing was the chain around their necks.
It was felt in spirit. All right. Now that I've done all that, next tomorrow, this Thursday. This Thursday, we're going to talk about meaningful and wonderful things. I will have Shay Tate back on because she did such a good job with The Wiz, and Shay Tate sees nothing and likes nothing, but she does like musicals and she does know about musicals. So we're going to talk Mean Girls 2024, Waitress the Musical, which is currently on Max, and Legally Blonde the Musical, which was taped and thrown onto a YouTube near you.
It was spawned from the devil's mind.
Sunday, yesterday, we finally did our Captain America's Shield. The chain of custody is what it's called to avoid copyright problems. So inspired by Bob Dylan's Hurricane, it was about the 10 minutes spent arguing the chain of custody of Captain America's Shield from our Falcon and Winter Soldier review. A fun time.
That was a good
by
time.
all. Yes. So we've made a song about it. It's up now in the archives and TikToks and whatnot. Sunday, coming Sunday, we've got the Metal Hammer of Doom. It's Jesse's choice because occasionally he gets to choose things. So we're doing Lacuna Coil, Sleepless Empire. And then we'll be back on Monday with A Working Man starring Jason Statham. And then that's the end of our shows for the week, sort of. However, I will be on movies that don't suck and some that do, talking Death of a Unicorn and something else. They have not told me what yet. However, late Friday night, at Harry Broadhurst's request, will be another Indie-Ciders. We'll be doing St. Louis Anarchy, Gateway to Anarchy 2025. Alexis Hana, did you know, sweet, beautiful summer child? You, with the purple hair, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, I know.
Well, look at me when I talk to you, god damn it. Did you know that you were the inspiration for our next sessions? Did you know that?
I swear to God, if it's something about where fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic, I will drive down to Florida and kick you in the nuts.
Close. It's called The Plugs That Pay Me, and it's going to be a rap song based on Naughty by Nature's Here Comes the Money. Hey, remember all those times you said to me, you don't pay me for this, and I went, you volunteered to be here, you dumb. I mean, I told you to stop doing that. Remember that? Remember that?
Okay, you don't want to look up how old that reference is, Mark.
Older than I am. Anyway, I'm going to make a song about it. See you in 2 weeks. All right. That's it. I'm done losing my mind. Speaking of the plugs that pay her, Alexis Hana, I hear you paint houses and make jewelry.
Yes, I do. Hang on a second. Let me get the shared screen up. Honeysuckle Rose Creations, where fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic. We just wrapped up Planet Comic-Con this weekend. It was awesome. Always love working it. That was our first big show of the year. We had amazing turnout. Next time you see Meg, ask her how she did in the cosplay contest with her Cinderella gown, because she looked amazing.
I will.
We got a little time coming up for our next convention, so we're going to be adding some more stuff to the online shop. As we are, as you can see here, we're on Etsy. We also have a store on Handmade at Amazon. And of course, you can always follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, fuck you, Twitter, and TikTok. So again, that's Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic.
Robert Winfrey, show us where you piss from.
So I cover mixed martial arts and professional wrestling over at 411mania.com. This last week was WWE SmackDown from Bologna, Italy. Was not a 3-hour show, but it went 3 hours. And UFC on ESPN Plus 113. They were in London, so it was a slightly earlier in the day card. Meh. Full report in the MMA Zone of 411mania.com. You can listen to me talk about it on the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast, where I talk about that. Dana White looking like he's about ready to exit the UFC in the next 18 months, give or take.
Well, he's been at it for 20 years now. He deserves time to go be with his family.
He's not going to go be with his family.
No. I said time to be with his family or invent a boxing league with Saudi blood money.
Yeah, that's more what he's doing. And trying to convince people that power slap isn't grotesque. It is. Dude, when even Grabaka Hitman on Twitter ain't watching what you're doing, you've done something really wrong. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, also talk about Conor McGregor saying he's going to run for the presidency of Ireland.
Oh, wait, I'm not allowed to like Conor McGregor because he's a bad person. I'm sorry, I take it back.
I'm going to, at this point, I'm going to find the YouTube video that lays out the chronology and the evidence against him, and then you can decide how you want to feel about him.
Fair enough.
And a couple of other bits of news from around the week, like the TKO League's boxing pay structure being leaked, which is just the UFC pay structure. It's terrible. So I talk about a lot of that stuff. And I preview this coming UFC event, UFC on ESPN 64. They're in Mexico City. It's actually not the worst card in the world, which I don't think I will be covering live. I have a thing. I'm helping somebody with their black belt test. Well, the pre-test is this Saturday, then a week off, and the actual black belt test, and I'm helping with both of those. So the second one, the test is going to start earlier in the day, I believe. So that one I might get back in time for the coverage, but this one, it's not going to work. So almost, unless I've got the early and late confused, which I will figure out tomorrow. But either way, probably not covering that one live. So I will get a report written up for it, though, because I'm me. And yeah, next week we'll talk Jason Statham being Action Man.
Yes, sir.
And the connected universe of Jason Stathams who do blue-collar labor but are secret assassins. There's a surprisingly high number of them.
Yeah.
Hang on, look. You got the transporter,
The beekeeper,
the mechanic,
the
beekeeper, the working man.
Yep.
We're one away from a fire team here, people.
All right.
Do we want to say Man at War or Wrath of Man? Because security guard, actual mob boss. We could count that one.
It's been a while since we've had a moderately contentious episode of Damn You Hollywood. It's fun. It's fun when we're slightly hostile with each other. So we hope you've enjoyed our slight hostility. For Robert Winfrey, Alexis Haina, I need to take blood pressure pills. Be well, be safe, and behave.